to welcome back residents, and how many actually want to return. Plus, an action figures new role as underdog. It's 1 p.m. Pacific time in San Diego. That's where the governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, announcing he's running for re-election. Can he turn his political fortunes around in the coming year? I'm Wolf Blitzer here in the Situation Room. President Bush says rebuilding the ravaged Gulf Coast will cost whatever it costs, and the federal government will foot a good deal of the bill, probably most of it, if not all of it. You heard him live in the Situation Room just a short while ago during his news conference over at the White House with the Russian President, Vladimir Putin. Today, White House officials refused to estimate a final price tag for Hurricane Katrina relief, but they acknowledged the money will come from the American taxpayer and will swell the federal deficit. This morning, the president said the Gulf Coast must be rebuilt with an eye toward wiping out persistent poverty and racial injustice. He spoke at a prayer service for Katrina victims over at the National Cathedral here in Washington. Back in the disaster zone, the U.S. Coast Guard says it's working to contain 44 oil spills in southeast Louisiana, including 4 major spills. Hurricane-damaged pipelines and other facilities unleashed hundreds of thousands of gallons of oil. On the latest storm front, Ophelia is on its way toward New England after lingering for days off North Carolina. Tropical storm warnings are now in effect for Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Ophelia was downgraded from hurricane status last night. President Bush is making another promise on this day after his primetime speech on rebuilding the Gulf Coast. He says the billions and billions and billions of dollars the federal government will spend will not necessarily be offset with tax hikes.
You bet it's going to cost money. But I'm confident we can handle it, and I'm confident we can handle our other priorities. It's going to mean that we're going to have to make sure we cut unnecessary spending. It's going to mean we got to maintain economic growth, and therefore we should not raise taxes.
Let's bring in our chief national correspondent, John King. John, let's talk a little bit about more what the president just said. He thinks he can find some ways to offset the additional expenditures for rebuilding the Gulf Coast. That's a lot easier said than done, though.
Well, and Wolf, many fiscal conservatives, even in the president's own party, simply don't trust him. The president said, yes, you have to look for spending cuts elsewhere, but he was not specific. Aides at the White House are saying they, at the moment, have no specific suggestions, say cut this, cut that. Many fiscal conservatives do not like that. And you said the president said not necessarily raise taxes. The White House is saying adamantly you will not raise taxes. The president will not accept a tax increase to pay for any of this. So where does the money come from? The White House acknowledging the deficit will go up. The president suggesting, without being specific, we'll look elsewhere in the budget. Some fiscal conservatives are already saying cut the pork out of that big highway bill the president just signed over their objections, perhaps even delay the very expensive new prescription drug benefit. For those in the Medicare program, there is bipartisan agreement that the devastated area must be rebuilt. But, Wolf, there will be a pretty big fight, including the president at odds with many in his own party, over how to pay for it.
John, as you know, what the Republicans wanted at the Congress and at the White House was to extend the tax cuts that were imposed, that were approved during the first term of this administration. For example, the elimination of estate tax and some of the other tax cuts that had a final deadline in the years to come. If the Congress doesn't do that, is that considered by the White House a tax increase?
Well, it certainly would be considered in the long run a tax increase. The president's tax cut plan that went through in the first term was for 10 years. So certainly by the time the president leaves office, if those tax cuts are not made permanent, he would characterize them as future tax increases. There is no hope, very little hope anyway, at the White House that the Congress will make permanent the broad package of the president's tax cuts this year. There's declining hope even that the Congress will address Social Security and the broader tax reform debate that the president at least wanted to begin this year. The big question now will be, will they go looking through the federal budget and say, if you're going to spend perhaps $200 billion or more rebuilding after Katrina, will you cut out this line? Will you cut that program? Where will you squeeze? The White House right now is saying, spend the money, then think about that. Many conservative fiscal Republicans are saying, no, do it at the same time.
And many Democrats are saying simply remove the tax cuts for the wealthy that were approved over the first 4 years, and that would help save some money. John King, thank you very much for that. U.S. senators from both parties are on the Gulf Coast today, a show of bipartisanship, even as some Democrats are giving the president's Katrina speech poor reviews. Let's go to our congressional correspondent, Ed Henry's on the Hill. Ed?
Wolf, that's right. In fact, Democratic leaders Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi are basically saying that the president taking responsibility does not make up for the initial slow government response. They're also saying that they feel the president's plan is not ambitious enough to really rebuild the Gulf region in the right way. And a little earlier today, a conservative Democrat, Congressman Gene Taylor of Mississippi, who actually lost his home in the Hurricane Katrina, is saying that he believes the president came up short in not reassuring enough people in the region that the federal government is going to push back against these insurance companies who might not cover everyone's damages.
One of the things the president didn't talk about is for those people who could not have conceived of this 30-foot wall of water being pushed in by the wind. Their policy, they have a wind policy but not a water policy. And I would think the president could have helped a heck of a lot of people feel a heck of a lot better about their future if he had said that we as a nation are going to somehow try to make you whole again.
Now, Wolf, John King just mentioned that soaring price tag. Congressman Taylor says he wants to see the Bush tax cuts rolled back in order to make sure that the Gulf region is made whole. That's how he wants to pay for it. And as you also heard, Republicans like John McCain are saying cut about $25 billion out of that highway bill Congress just passed. The problem, of course, though, is that Democrats and Republicans alike here on the Hill are up for election next year in those midterm elections. The president not facing the voters. There's a lot of pork barrel spending in that highway bill, and incumbents want to make sure it stays in there, Wolf.
A bipartisan Senate delegation has been visiting the Gulf region today. Is this really a bipartisan show of support, or is there less there than meets the eye?
I think there's a little less because basically they didn't want to look like they were punching each other in the eyes and going after each other's throats at a time when they're in the region. They don't want to look like babies. But back here on the Hill, in fact, there's been a lot of finger pointing, a lot of the blame game, as you know. And even though there's some bipartisanship down there in the Gulf region, when they come back next week, there's still a lot of deep division about, for one thing, how to investigate what went wrong. Republicans still saying Congress should do it. Democrats say no way, they're going to sweep that under the rug. That's going to be a whitewash. Instead, it should be an independent commission, Wolf.
We see Senator Frist, we saw Senator Lieberman, other senators there as well. Ed, thank you very much. In New Orleans, it's just a day away from allowing business owners to return to the French Quarter and some of the other parts of the city. The first phase of the mayor's plan to bring the city back to life. Our Sean Calebs is on the scene for us in New Orleans. He's joining us now live. Sean, where are you?
Well, we're actually in north part of the city, right on Lake Pontchartrain, and you're looking at a marina where just scores of boats, somewhere between 150 and 200 boats, were just pushed up by the waves from the lake at the height of the storm, and now salvage crews are out doing what they can. The difference between this boat and so many others, this mast has already been removed. This boat is ready to be righted and taken off if it's going to be repaired. But over here, the real work is going on. Marine recovery and salvage, they're going through with this crane taking the masts off every single boat. They've been out here since before 8 o'clock in the morning Central Time, and it's going to take them throughout the day. You see the numbers, 05, 06, 08. They have between 150 and 200 boats to take care of, so it is going to be exhausting. We had a chance to talk with a few of these guys. Some had a chance to watch the president's speech last night. They said they were very glad there is now a plan, and the federal government is agreeing to bear the brunt of the cost for the repair of this region. But many said, give this area the money, but let the people do the work. They're ready to roll up their sleeves and do what is necessary to rebuild Louisiana and the rest of this Gulf Coast area. Wolf?
All right, Sean, thank you very much. Sean Caleb's reporting for us from New Orleans. New Orleans may be reopening doors, but a new poll shows many hurricane evacuees in Houston don't plan on going home. 43% of the evacuees say they will return to New Orleans, according to the survey published today in the Washington Post. 44% say they'll settle someplace else. 13% haven't decided yet. The federal government's response to the Katrina disaster has been widely panned, but is there anyone on the federal level who deserves praise? We'll tell you about some heroes of the storm. That's coming up. Plus, the president's big plans for rebuilding the Gulf Coast. How can taxpayers afford it? Our Ali Velshi will consider the bottom line. And later, more from Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's still speaking in San Diego. And as you saw here in the Situation Room, he's making it clear he's planning on running for re-election as California governor next year. But given the state of his popularity, can he win? We'll have detailed analysis. Stay with us.
When so many little things go wrong, it's good to know some of the big things won't. The nice thing about the HP Pavilion notebook with Intel Centrino mobile technology isn't just its price. It's the peace of mind you get for the price. Like a warranty that's longer than most. Support with industry-leading response time. And tech help that actually helps. Get a computer and a company you can count on. Call by September 17th to get an HP Pavilion notebook with Intel Centrino mobile technology, just $899. Order now and get a free second battery and free shipping. Or ask about other notebooks with Intel processors starting at $529 after rebates. Too bad everything isn't backed with this much support. HP Pavilion notebooks. Brilliantly simple.
It's time lenders treated people with respect. That's why eLoan offers home equity loans with faster responses and rates as low as 5.49%. Those are some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan. Radically simple.
Tomorrow night, CNN and the Clinton Global Initiative take on the toughest questions facing the world today.
We're going to ask people to actually make a commitment to do something.
Straight talk, a promise of action. Christiane Amanpour hosts a global summit. CNN tomorrow night, 8 Eastern.
Who are today's explorers, pioneers, inventors, and dreamers? CNN brings you Explorers, an original series spotlighting today's Magellans of science, space, invention, and medicine. Join CNN all this week as we travel from the widest expanse of space to the microscopic cells of life. Find out how tomorrow's innovations will simplify, improve, and revolutionize the way we live. Watch CNN all this week and explore the possibilities. Brought to you by Infinity, who use the power of design to create beautiful, dynamic automobiles.
Unlike some Democrats, Bill Clinton has some good things to say about President Bush's primetime speech on the Katrina disaster. CNN's Larry King asked the former president about Mr. Bush's declaration that he's responsible when the federal government fails.
Well, I think the president did the right thing in taking responsibility. Clearly, the FEMA response was slow, and there are lots of reasons that I think that happened. I believe that there should be some reorganization there.
Should FEMA not be part of national security?
Well, you know, I'm biased. I liked it the way it was. I think the most important thing is we probably should have some sort of requirement that anybody who has the job has prior experience in emergency management. It's a very serious, important job.
You can watch all of the interview with the former president tonight on Larry King Live. That airs 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Words of praise sometimes have been in short supply in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider, though, has been looking beyond the finger point, and Bill is joining us now live. Bill?
Wolf, did the federal government get anything right? The answer is yes. That's not just surprising. It's also the play of the week.
To the extent that the federal government didn't fully do its job right, I take responsibility.
This week, the president took responsibility for everything the federal government did wrong. But we also began to hear about agencies that did things right. 2 in particular. The National Hurricane Center sent out dire warnings days before Katrina struck.
Well, it's very serious, and it can not only cause a lot of damage, but large loss of life.
Mayfield personally called local officials to emphasize the dangers. He later said, "I could never sleep if I felt like I didn't do everything that I could to impress upon people the gravity of the situation." Hurricane forecasters warned of devastating damage to New Orleans.
And if the center goes close enough that they get a 20 or 25-foot storm surge in New Orleans, that will overtop the levees and flood the city.
The National Hurricane Center got it right, but not enough people listened. One agency did listen, the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard was there the minute the storm struck, sending out 100 chopper crews every day to perform difficult and valiant rescues.
They rescued 1,700 people in Mississippi, and they were there Monday night when it was still awful.
Overall, the Coast Guard says it saved nearly 24,000 lives. This week, President Bush acknowledged the Guard's impressive performance.
Those Coast Guard kids pulling people out of the floods did heroic work.
At a time when most government failed, 2 government agencies did their jobs and earned the Play of the Week. What do the National Hurricane Center and the Coast Guard have in common? They're small, non-political, and non-bureaucratic organizations. In a story of failure, they worked.
They certainly did, Bill. Thank you very much. Listen to this. Arnold Schwarzenegger, as you know, the governor of California, is having a town hall meeting. We're expecting him to announce he's going to seek re-election. Let's listen in very briefly for a moment. I want your analysis.
Things are running perfectly well in Sacramento. Then vote no on any of those things. But if you think we need change, vote yes. Vote yes on 74, yes on 76, yes on 77, yes on 74, 76, 77, yes on 74, 76, 77, yes on 74, 76, and 77, yes on all of those initiatives.
All right, he's talking about all those initiatives that he wants the voters of California to pass. These are serious, serious issues, but his job approval ratings are way, way down in the 30s right now. Bill, how's it look?
Doesn't look terrific for Governor Schwarzenegger, but look, he's an action hero. Maybe he can turn it around. The records show that he spent $26 million just in the first half of this year on his political committees. And what did he get for it? A dismal approval rating and a majority of California voters who now say they are not inclined to re-elect him.
And the Democrats have a year, basically, to get their act together in California. So that's a lot of time to come up with a candidate. Some celebrities like Rob Reiner or Warren Beatty, their names have been thrown out there. Is that realistic?
Well, I'm not sure it's realistic, but look, in the end, it will be a referendum on Governor Schwarzenegger. And his fortunes have really taken a tumble this year. It is one of the most remarkable political stories I've ever seen. You know, he was elected as a politician, but now he looks like, rather as a non-politician, and now he looks like a typical politician, a Republican in a very Democratic state, a Bush supporter in a state where Bush is unpopular. He also was elected as a uniter, but he spent most of this year picking fights, too many fights with the wrong groups like nurses and teachers and firefighters. And finally, he said he would be beholden to no one, but he spent an awful lot of time raising money from special interests. And for all those reasons, his fortunes have taken a tumble.
All right, Bill Schneider giving us some good analysis. Thank you, Bill, very much. His press secretary, by the way, says that the governor will announce at some point during this town hall meeting today that he's going to be seeking re-election. He hasn't formally done that yet. We're monitoring that town hall meeting. We'll get that soundbite for you once it happens. A White House thank you for some people doing some amazing work, reuniting children separated during the hurricane from their parents. We'll have that story when we return. Plus, more political fallout from Katrina. Has the storm washed out hopes for Social Security reform? Stick around. You're in the Situation Room.
CNN Primetime tonight at 8. Thousands of missing guns, criminals and sex offenders roaming free and blending in. Can police round them up? The evils Katrina unleashed. CNN tonight, 8 Eastern.
Broadband Business, presented by Verizon. High-speed broadband can help transform your business into a thriving enterprise. Take advantage of the power of the internet with your own business. Gain efficiencies as super-fast broadband instantly connects you to suppliers, customers, and consultants anywhere in the world. Order inventory, sell product, conduct video conferences, even do billing and banking without ever leaving your home or office. High-speed broadband can mean rapid growth for your business. Broadband Business, presented by Verizon.
Local design that goes global with the world's most advanced network. Verizon Broadband.
objective financial advice. It's right for any nest egg, regardless of size. A.G. Edwards. For 118 years, fully invested in our clients.
Starting tomorrow, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and CNN will identify children from the Katrina aftermath. Please watch this weekend. You might save a life. High tech, high speed, and the height of cool. Once you've seen them, you won't want to travel without them. Saturdays, the Travel Channel's outfitting you with the latest in travel accessories, personal locators, electric bicycles, your own private submarine. We've got your ultimate gear. Travel gear, Saturdays at 5, only on the Travel Channel.
The following brought to you by Valley RV Center, the Northwest's #1 Banks Power dealer.
I'm not what you would call a do-it-yourselfer. Like that time with my new HD TV. Thankfully, to get high-def programming from Comcast, I didn't have to install anything myself. One call and they did the rest. Now I get all these great HD channels, HD TV on demand, even an HD DVR, all without buying any expensive equipment. They really saved me from myself.
That's HD made easy. Comcast. Get an exclusive rebate from Comcast when you buy a Panasonic HD TV from Comcast.Panasonic.com.
Former President Bill Clinton, hurricane relief and his global initiative. Larry King, CNN Tonight.
First Lady Laura Bush is focusing today on some of the youngest victims of Hurricane Katrina, children separated from their parents by the storm. Mrs. Bush visited the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that's just outside Washington in Northern Virginia. She says even young kids should learn their full names, addresses, and their parents' names. More than 2,000 children have been reported missing since Katrina struck. We'll go live to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children in our next hour. Here in the Situation Room, our Brian Todd is standing by. And stay with CNN throughout this weekend for special reports on the plight of the children of the storm and efforts to reunite them with their families. On our political radar this Friday, Katrina fallout. Former and possibly future Democratic presidential candidate John Kerry has a harsh review of President Bush's speech on Katrina recovery. The Senate Democrat says Americans want to know their government will be there when it counts, with leadership that keeps them safe, not speeches in the aftermath to explain away the inexcusable. The head of the House Republican Campaign Committee is urging fellow GOP leaders to drop plans for Social Security legislation this year. Officials say Congressman Tom Reynolds made the pitch to House leaders this week. Those officials say Reynolds noted the public's attention has turned to Hurricane Katrina, and he said focusing in on Social Security could hurt Republicans in next year's congressional election. Looking ahead to the 2006 vote, a new Pew poll asks Americans if they'd like to see most members of Congress re-elected next year. 48% said no. That's the highest level of dissatisfaction in the Pew poll in the last decade since Republicans won control of Congress in 1994. It's not yet clear if Hurricane Katrina is a factor in the discontent. Up next, the money game. The president promises to spend billions and billions and billions of dollars to rebuild what Katrina destroyed. But where will the cash come from? We'll ask our Ali Velchi. He's digging into that story. And later, Arnold Schwarzenegger says he's around for the long haul. But the California governor is way down in the polls. Can he turn things around in the coming year? I'll ask our own political analyst, Carlos Watson. He's standing by.
Here I was, just 58, and I could barely walk. The pain in my hip kept me up all night.
I knew this arthritis pain was not going to beat you. I just knew it.
Not without a fight.
Hip replacement surgery is not for everyone, and recovery takes time. But Marcy was ready, so her surgeon told her about the range of new techniques and advanced technology.
To receive more information about hip replacement, call 1-877-4MY-HIP-1.
Marcy didn't have any conditions to keep her from having surgery, and she was willing to work hard at rehabilitation. Success also depends on age, weight, and activity level.
There came a point when I realized my arthritis pain was gone. What a glorious feeling that was.
Ask your orthopedic surgeon whether hip replacement is right for you, or call 1-877-4MY-HIP-1.
It really wasn't easy, but I'm so glad I didn't wait.
A message from DePuy Orthopedics Incorporated, a Johnson & Johnson company.
Looking for a mortgage lender who really knows how to win your business? Right now, we're offering a $49 flat fee fixed rate second mortgage.
Get on the Ditech Home Equity Fast Track today.
Log on to ditech.com or call 1-800-DITECH-1.
How many days is 3 weeks?
21.
Won't you miss your room?
A little bit.
Won't you miss Rocky?
You know what I'm gonna miss the most?
What?
This face.
Mr. Buckwood, welcome to Residence Inn.
Residence Inn. All suites with all the comforts.
Are you getting enough fiber in your diet? To get the 25 to 30 grams of daily fiber you need for ongoing good health, what else would you have time for? That's why there's Fiber Choice, the chewable fiber supplement. Each bottle contains 180 grams of fiber. You'd need more than 3 bottles of fiber caplets at 3 times the price to get the same amount, which makes Fiber Choice the smart choice for your busy lifestyle. Fiber Choice, now in assorted fruit chewable tablets and hard candy drops.
Be powerful.
Be focused.
Be committed.
Be daring.
In other words, be extraordinary. E-Trade Financial, with our state-of-the-art platform for long-term investors. At E-Trade Financial, we keep challenging the ordinary to help investors be extraordinary.
Tomorrow night, CNN and the Clinton Global Initiative take on the toughest questions facing the world today.
We're going to ask people to actually make a commitment to do something.
Straight talk, a promise of action. Christiane Amanpour hosts a global summit. CNN tomorrow night, 8 Eastern.
You heard President Bush say it just a short while ago. If you were watching CNN, you saw it live. The federal government will spend what is needed to pay for Hurricane Katrina relief and recovery without raising taxes, he says. Let's bring in our Ellie Velci to talk about this, the price tag of rebuilding. Where's the money going to come from, Ellie?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. Here's how it looks. $200 billion. We have a big economy. The economy can likely absorb $200 billion. But whatever the government puts out comes out from money that they collect from taxing people and from taxing corporations. So where does this money come from? Typically, it would just add to the federal deficit. The deficit gets bigger. As the deficit gets bigger, the government pays more money to borrow, and interest rates go up. When interest rates go up, everybody pays more, which means your home mortgage goes up, your loan payments go up. So it becomes a tax. They may not be raising taxes that you pay, but it becomes a tax on borrowing. That's one way to look at it. So the money can't come from nowhere. Now, the flip side of that, Wolf, is that when the government spends this money, someone gets it. Typically, companies are getting it to rebuild. There's a lot of stimulus in the economy, and what you might see is as this happens, the economy, particularly in that region, kicks up, and that money comes back because companies become more profitable. They benefit from the rebuilding of New Orleans. Tourists go flock in, and all of these people end up paying taxes. As more jobs are created, the people who have been out of work create taxes. So here's what you have. You have $200 billion that's going to be paid as a result of the hurricane. That's going out. It'll probably be regenerated over the course of the next year or so, but it doesn't get regenerated into the same place it came from. And that's the question right now. How does the government, which is running a deficit, finance the expenditures that they're going to be putting out on Katrina, on the relief of Katrina? That's not clear. The government's not made that clear. Right now they're saying they don't have to raise taxes, may or may not even have an impact on the deficit. Now, Wolf, you know very well from all your time in Washington that it's more complicated than that. It's not that you take $200 out of the budget and it never goes back. The government has ways of making money and rebalancing things. But at the moment, it is unclear where this money is coming from and who's going to benefit from it. That'll be something to watch over the course of the next year, because you can't just take $200 billion out of somewhere and not account for it.
They're going to borrow it. There's going to be notes. There's going to be loans. And certainly the Saudis, the Chinese, the Taiwanese, the Koreans, they're going to be buying a lot of these notes over the years. In effect, future generations are going to be paying the interest on all of this.
Right.
And the other point is $200 billion, let's say, on top of the $200 or $300 billion, the U.S. is already spending on Iraq a few $1 billion every week, $5 billion or whatever every month. in the end, that's going to increase the budget deficit.
And these are not huge numbers in the context of our economy, one at a time. But, when you start thinking about a country that then is running a deficit on an ongoing basis, the cost of borrowing money becomes higher. And that's why next week we're going to watch carefully for what the Federal Reserve has to say about interest rates, a continuing increase in interest rates, or do they have it pull back a little? This affects every American. It affects the way you spend your money. It affects how you buy your houses.
They used to say it's like a hidden tax. Every time the deficit goes up, interest rates will go up. In effect, you're going to be taxed with the interest rates as opposed to a formal tax, shall we say.
That's exactly right.
Just like the cost of a gallon of gasoline as well. Allie, we'll continue this conversation.
Yep.
Thank you very much. The president in prime time, that would have been last night. Did Mr. Bush make his case clear last night? We'll get some expert opinion. That's coming up in our strategy session. And later, Ophelia drenching North Carolina. Will it make a repeat performance in New England this weekend? We're tracking the storm, and you're in the situation.
No one asked them to help. They just did. CNN Saturday night. Before FEMA, before the military, they acted. Now their amazing stories must be told. CNN presents Heroes Among Us. CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
In a straight sprint, most performance cars perform equally well. But the world isn't straight, which is why the Audi A4 is available with Quattro all-wheel drive. Feel the power and control of 25 years of Quattro in the Audi A4. Take a test drive today.
Honey, does this make me look fat?
You betcha.
In the time it takes to pull out the sleeper sofa, you could save hundreds on car insurance. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
We're gonna make accounts payable exciting again. That's what we need to do, people.
In the time it takes to clean out your desk, you could save hundreds on car insurance. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Introducing new Smart Balance Microwave Popcorn, the world's first to help improve cholesterol, with no hydrogenated oil and no trans fatty acids. Smart Balance Microwave Popcorn, the great tasting popcorn that's actually good for you.
Thomas Jefferson. His legacy includes the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark Expedition. The Westward Journey Nickel series from the United States Mint commemorates the bicentennials of these events with a new likeness of Thomas Jefferson on the 2005 nickel, plus 2 new historic tail designs. The nickels are included in beautifully crafted silver-proof sets, a great gift idea for any occasion. To order, call 1-800-USA-MINT or visit www.usmint.gov.
It's time for the lending industry to change. That's why eLoan has consultants who don't make money based on the rate of the loan and has no lender fees. Those are some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan. Radically simple.
CNN's Frederica Whitfield is joining us now live from the CNN Center in Atlanta with a quick look at some other important stories making news. Hi, Fred.
Hello to you, Wolf. In Iraq, for a week that's been seen steady bursts of violence, there were more attacks today. At least 17 people are dead from separate attacks across Baghdad. In one incident, gunmen opened fire on a Muslim cleric in Baghdad. In another, gunmen stormed the home of a district mayor, killing him and 4 of his bodyguards. In Afghanistan, tight security from U.S. forces ahead of Sunday's elections for new provincial councils and members of the national parliament. Taliban rebels are telling Afghans to boycott the polls or face violence. Already today, Taliban militants are suspected of killing one candidate. Election organizers are using donkeys and other means to deliver millions of ballots to the polls. Many hope the election will marginalize Afghan insurgents. On the subject of expensive gas and diesel prices in Britain, some motorists are mad as ever. At times, they're driving just 20 miles per hour, causing traffic jams on a busy motorway in South Wales. Gas prices are selling for about $7 per gallon. And in New York, kings and queens, presidents and prime ministers, all brought together by one former U.S. president. It's day 2 of Bill Clinton's global initiative, which hopes to address poverty, religious strife, climate change, and corruption. Find out more tonight on CNN's Larry King Live President Bush will be the guest. That begins at 9 p.m. Eastern. Wolf?
Would be President Clinton. Former President Clinton will be the guest, Fred, not President Bush, a slip of the tongue.
No, it is a slip
but President
of the tongue.
Bush, President Bush will be a guest, I'm sure, on Larry King Live sooner rather than later. So it was accurate, but not necessarily tonight. Fred, thank you very much.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break. Much more coming up. We're hearing the word from Arnold Schwarzenegger directly coming up. We'll tell you what he has to say about getting himself reelected, at least trying to get himself reelected. Our strategy session coming up as well. James Carville, Babe Buchanan, they're here in the Situation Room with us. We had a lot to talk about.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win.
When you refinance at LendingTree.com, you can save up to $200 a month with a lower rate. Just think what you can do with the money. When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com.
Dogs want to be with us more than anything in the world. Because they're dogs. And that's what they do. And when we can't be with them, we give them a jumbo to keep them happy. Because we're dog lovers. And that's what we do. Pedigree Jumbo, the long-lasting bone with a meaty center that keeps dogs happy.
Audi Patrol.
Feel 25 years of Quattro all-wheel drive in the Audi A6. Take a test drive today.
Resilient fabrics. Insulation that shrugs off the weather. Energy-saving appliances. Durable surroundings. How do you make all of that happen? With the right chemistry. Improving the things we all need is a goal to live by, and it's ours. Dow. Living improved daily.
If you're a homeowner and you need cash, call or log on to Ditech.com and take the Ditech Challenge. We'll guarantee you the lowest rate and fee and help you to consolidate debts and lower your payments, even if your credit is less than perfect. Call 1-800-80-DITECH.
There's a certain team in Senior Division B, the Exiles. They're young, fast, and undefeated. On Sunday, they will lose because we've taped all their plays. We've downloaded all their games. We've even trained with obscure Brazilian drill software. It's our heads versus their feet. And on Sunday, we'll win. I guarantee it.
Start something victorious. Start anything you like with a world of software and devices that run on Windows.
Introducing E-Trade Complete. Control your financial world from one page and maximize the potential value of every dollar. In other words, be master of your domain. E-Trade Financial. Be extraordinary.
In Katrina's aftermath, more Americans say CNN is where they got the story. More than Fox News or MSNBC. More than NBC, ABC, or CBS. When it matters most, Americans trust CNN.
Just into CNN, California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is making it official. He's running for re-election next year. Schwarzenegger is in San Diego this hour promoting his agenda and his campaign for a second term. Let's listen to what he just said.
I'm a follow-through guy. I have learned that from sports. In every sport, you learn about following through, right? In golf, about swinging through. In tennis, we follow through. In skiing, we finish the turn. It's all about follow through. I learned most of my lessons from sports. So, of course, I'm going to follow through with this here. I'm not in there for 3 years. I originally got into this because to finish the job. I'm in there for 7 years. Yes, I will run for governor next year again. Yes.
Let's go to our political analyst, Carlos Watson. He's out in California. He's followed this guy for a long time. Carlos, why is he announcing so early? He's not up for re-election till November of 2006.
Right, Wolf, and in fact, he has until March to announce formally whether or not he was going to run for re-election, so this is pretty early. The big reason is this fall campaign. This November in California, there's a big special election. A number of ballot initiatives are on the election, including dealing with teacher tenure and the budget and redistricting. And what Arnold was starting to see were two things. One, he couldn't raise enough money to really fight the kind of fight he wanted to, because a lot of big corporate donors were saying, if we don't know if you're going to be governor for another 4 years, we don't know if we want to risk backing these initiatives, and then you're no longer there. The other thing that was going on was there began to be talk in the media out here that if the special election went against Arnold in a major way, that might cast a cloud over his re-election bid. He didn't want those stories tied too closely together in the media, and that's why he announced so early.
Last month, there was a field poll, as you know, Carlos, in California, among California registered voters. Are you inclined to re-elect Schwarzenegger in 2006? 36% said they were inclined to do so. 56% say they were not inclined to do so. And his job approval ratings are equally as bad. He's got an uphill struggle.
He does, although he can take a little bit of comfort from looking at the last two governors. Both Gray Davis, a year before he ran for re-election, and Pete Wilson, a year before he ran for re-election, both also had approval ratings in kind of the mid to high 30s. Both went on to win in pretty significant fashion. So that gives them a little bit of comfort. But make no mistake about it, Arnold, who once was at 65% approval ratings, is in much tougher shape. And by the way, Wolf, we're seeing that around the country. We see that in places like Maryland and Texas and other places where incumbent Republican governors are facing maybe tougher than expected re-election campaigns.
You're there in California on the scene. Do you sense there's a new emerging strategy that the governor has?
Yeah, in fact, Wolf, there are three things to think about. The governor is clearly trying to change his team to some extent. Clearly is trying to, frankly, change his opponent. And also, in many ways, is also trying to change the time frame over which he works. In terms of changing his team, he's moved a couple of key members, his chief of staff, his main communications director, away from his gubernatorial team and over towards this ballot initiative and larger campaign effort. In terms of trying to change his opponent, he had been seeming to focus on the unions, whether you're talking about teachers, police, firefighters, and others. And now there's a chance that he may redirect his efforts instead and focus on a specific initiative that would redistrict congressional and state legislative boundaries. Therefore, who would his opponent be? His opponent would be incumbents. And he would say, do nothing members of Congress or the state legislature are really the problem. And then last but not least, in terms of time frame, or really in terms of scope, instead of having him focus on 3 or 4 initiatives this November, you may really see him say, if I can get just one through, I'll declare victory and go home early. So a major change in Arnold's strategy.
And briefly, Carlos, the Democrats, they're going to have to get their act together. Are they moving around? Are they focusing in on one candidate who could significantly challenge him?
Not yet. So the good news for Democrats is that the two announced candidates, Phil Angelides and Steve Wesley, both state elected officials, right now are run roughly even with Governor Schwarzenegger in some of the polls. But the tough news is that they've got a tough primary fight of their own, and frankly, they may not have the fight to themselves. You may have people like the actor Rob Reiner jump in. You could have one of the big mayors, either from San Francisco or Los Angeles, still jump in before the March deadline. So they've got a tough race themselves, but right now they certainly feel better than they did a year ago when Arnold seemed all but invincible.
Excellent political analysis from Carlos Watson, our man on the scene in California. Carlos, thank you very much. When we come back, the president in prime time. Did he make his case well last night? James Carville, Bay Buchanan in our strategy session. We'll review the president. That's coming up next.
Countdown to TV's Emmy Awards tonight on Showbiz Tonight. The nominees, their shows, and the personal impact of Hurricane Katrina. Then, next Monday night, your awards wrap up. Showbiz Tonight. Headline Prime. Tonight, 7 and 11 Eastern. Sponsored by Buick.
Introducing the new 2006 Envoy Denali. Behind this grille lies some of the most fuel-efficient technology available. Displacement on demand, saving fuel while still delivering the most standard horsepower of any midsize SUV. The new 2006 Envoy Denali by GMC.
Starting tomorrow, The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and CNN will identify children from the Katrina aftermath. Please watch this weekend. You might save a life.
Mattress World's made a special purchase.
Right now, get a Sealy Firm Plush or Pillow Top Queen Set for just $3.99.
That's right, a Sealy Firm Plush or Pillow Top Queen Set for just $3.99.
Also get no interest, no payments for 1 full year.
Quantities are limited. When they're gone, they're gone. We can't beat any price on any comparable mattress, and the mattress is free.
It's not too late to sleep like a baby. Mattress World.
Mattress World, 185th and Cornell, next to Burger King.
Portland's top talent takes center stage on Dick's Mackenzie Ford Gimme the Mic, presented by Comcast. One singing superstar will drive off in a 2005 Ford Escape from Dick's Mackenzie Ford. Next time, Whitney, Jeff, Karen, and Alonzo compete in the semifinals, along with Dorothy, Nehemiah, Jeremy, and Joanne. Saturday, September 17th at 10 on News Channel 8. Or watch it on your schedule with Comcast On Demand.
It's been said that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. That's exactly what many companies have done with their help wanted advertising. They've changed from seeing newspaper classified employment advertising as their only option to realizing that advertising their jobs online is as effective or better, takes less time, and saves them lots of money. Is your business ready to make a change? I'm David Batstone.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Yo soy Jenny Rivera y quiero invitarlos a que sigan aquí con mi comadre en una cita con Nelly. Que Dios les bendiga.
Sala ya tu cita con Nelly. Es hora de tu disfrutar. Qué buena la vas a pasar. Siéntate, lístate ya. Es tu cita con Nelly.
Y ahora, 3 veces a la semana, tú tienes una cita con Nelly.
Weather is the news. Trust CNN. It's essential.
Rebuilding after Katrina and the president's speech, the topic of today's strategy session. Joining us here in the Situation Room, Democratic strategist James Carville, Republican strategist Babe Buchanan, both CNN political analysts. James, I'll start with you. How did the president do last night?
Well, you know, I think he did fine. I think it was, as President Clinton said, it was good that he acknowledged responsibility for some of the federal failures here, same thing that Governor Blanco and Mayor Nagin have done. But I think sometimes we have a kind of all-or-nothing view of these speeches. How much this helps his political situation, which of course is what we focus on here in Washington, is kind of doubtful. And, you know, it's going to depend on the kind of long range of what happens. I certainly don't think that he hurt himself any last night, but I really doubt if he helped himself a lot, too. He probably was the first step in a long journey.
What do you think, Ben?
I think he did extremely well. I think the speech was very, very good. And he hit all the right points, the right temperament, brought real emotion, it really kind of, I think, inspired the nation to realize the spirit of the people is there and we can do well. I think he loses points. 80% of communication, Wolf, as you know, is nonverbal. And I think he looked like a FEMA worker. When he's making an address to the American people, the president, we want him to look like the president. I think he should have a suit and tie, and I think he should have been in the Oval Office. I think that backdrop did not work.
What do you
think?
That
was risky. And it looked more like a casual Fridays to me than a FEMA worker or a president. And he does, I know I do a lot of public speaking myself, I have to have an audience. He seems to me to do better with an audience or sitting down at a desk. It was a very awkward place for the president to be, and the choice of clothes that they had him in, he didn't look like he was doing rescue work, or he didn't like he was in a suit. He was like in a nice kind of blue shirt.
Felt uncomfortable in suit and a tie in the midst of all the rubble. And
that should have been considered.
He could have been in boots and kind of. I don't know. I'm telling you this. It did seem to be. I understand what they were doing. It just seemed to be an odd venue and one not particularly suited to him.
And you know, Bay, looking into a camera and reading teleprompter is not that easy.
No, it's very difficult, and then to have kind of an eerie backdrop there, it just, I don't think it worked. I think the advancement should have gone down there and realized it's too hot. You can't have him in a suit and tie.
You'd see what he looked like as he was reading his speech in that camera.
I think he lost the authority, and what he needed more than anything last night is to look like the commander-in-chief in charge. The words were all there. He showed that he had a real comfort with the problem and had some control over it.
So you think he should have done it from the Oval Office?
I think when they went down there and saw that it didn't work down there, they should have moved him right into the Oval Office and made it a presidential speech to the American people.
Let's talk about a substantive issue. Senator Jim DeMint, Republican, conservative, South Carolina, is quoted in the New York Times today as saying, "We know we need to help, but throwing more and more money without accountability at this is not going to solve the problem." Among your fellow conservative Republicans, Bay, there's a little revolt brewing. Yes. Where's all this money, $200 billion, going to come from?
It's as if the president wants to buy his way up in these polls. And we all know that you've got to spend money, and serious money, and he's showing that he's going to do that. But we don't want the fraud that comes along with these huge sums of money. It's just as if we just pick these numbers. $200 billion, okay, that'll work. We want to see where it's going and why it's needed, and also where he is getting this money. There is not an unlimited supply here.
Last night I was at the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, which is, as you can imagine, overwhelming Republican group. And, you know, it's the $62 billion, but where it's going, and I really think this, I can't believe that the White House is putting this out of the White House and putting Karl Rove in charge. That's not going to stand. No. The people are not going to stand for that. Believe me, these Midwest, Republican business interests, et cetera, Jim DeMint, none of these guys are going to stand for this. I don't know what the White House was thinking or what the president was thinking, but there's great trepidation in the country, and from Democrats too, not just Republicans or Chamber of Commerce types, that if they go and they do this $62 billion and it gets messed up, that's just going to add the conservative fuel to the fire. So you say the government can't do anything.
Why do you think Karl Rove is going to be? He's the deputy White House chief of staff. He's also the top political advisor to the president. I thought Michael Chertoff, the Secretary of Homeland Security, would be in charge.
Well, of the Reconstruction money, I would submit to you both of them are probably equally unqualified, but I'll leave that out of the way to say, I'm surprised that last night he didn't say some assurance that he was going to see that this was going to be spent that way. I'm surprised that they didn't form some public-private partnership.
He has the auditors
will be involved in auditing the whole process.
And watching everything. But my experience with auditors, and that's my field of expertise is accounting, is they come in after the fact. You want a controller there. You want a big guy who knows numbers, who's going to watch every dime so that we don't have a scandal that takes place. Auditors was a good step, but I think he needs to take another step.
Democrats are going to pound the table about Rove being in charge of $62 billion and everything, and I don't blame them. And if they don't,
I hope it stops at 62.
You're from Louisiana originally. This is a disturbing poll. I think everyone will agree. The question is asked among evacuees if they're planning on going back to their homes in Louisiana and New Orleans. 43% said they want to return to New Orleans. 44% of those evacuees say they want to settle somewhere else. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, to be fair, I think it was a poll that was taken in Houston among the evacuees there. Secondly, if people don't have a home. Exactly. And so you say, well, you're going to go back to what? And I think if you told somebody, well, you're going to, if your house is still standing, would you go back? They'd say yes. I think we can overinterpret this. But the truth of the matter is some historian that's studied large-scale displacements would probably tell you it's a fairly common thing that a lot of people don't go back, and
if people live through a trauma like that, especially young kids, they don't necessarily want to go back to that.
They do not. And, the parents have an obligation, these families have an obligation to get some roots quickly, some stability in those families, put them in schools, keep them there. You don't want to keep turning this situation over. And so they're looking and they're saying, look, I can get something going here in the next month or 2 months or 3 months. How long do I have to wait for New Orleans? My family can't wait.
That's exactly right. And when people, their kids change schools, they're completely traumatized by it.
We've got to leave it there, guys. James Carville, Babe Buchanan, thanks.
Thank you.
Coming up, bloggers bashing President Bush. Why am I not surprised? We'll go online to find out why some, including some conservatives, are unhappy with the president's ambitious rebuilding plans for the Gulf Coast. And must the show go on? The producers of TV's Emmy Awards say the nation needs a laugh after Hurricane Katrina. Stay with us.
How can one company help create stronger, lighter, safer, quieter vehicles, and support research into new energy sources to run them. By using the right chemistry, improving the things we all need is a great journey. And it's ours. Dow. Living improved daily.
Have you seen my new pillow windows? They're stunning. But look at this. The shades are in the windows? Yeah, so they don't get dirty or damaged. And they work like regular shades? No, even better, they're cordless. Look at that. One, it's so easy to change the shades, too. Oh my gosh, look at that. Do it again.
Designer Series windows and doors. Only from Pella.
That's great.
Eventually, you'll look through them. The Welcome Home Sale is going on now. Call today for a free consultation.
He's a computer science professor from Iowa. He's slightly distracted. And this is Take On Orbit, the game that pits other travel services against Orbitz.com.
Today's contestants need a hotel in Hawaii for under $100 with a golf course. Ready? Go.
Hotel reservations?
Yes. Done. Orbitz makes it easy to find the right hotel at a great price.
Log on to OrbitzGames.com for your chance to be a daily winner of free travel. Visit OrbitzGames.com today.
What can saving for college teach us about financial decisions?
Honey, can we fly this year?
Nope. College fund.
Hey, guess what? I got a bonus.
This is great.
College fund.
Yeah.
I got the scholarship.
Plan B.
Wherever you are financially, we're right there with you. Talk to a Wachovia advisor today.
Introducing the new 2006 Envoy Denali. Behind this grille lies some of the most fuel-efficient technology available. Displacement on demand, saving fuel while still delivering the most standard horsepower of any midsize SUV. The new 2006 Envoy Denali by GMC.
Last night in the zone of Hurricane Katrina's disaster, President Bush pledged federal dollars and federal support. Now, in the long term, how is the online, he says the U.S. is going to be in it, the federal government, in the long term, but how's the online community reacting? Our internet reporters, Jackie Schechner and Abby Tatton, are here. They'll take us online to see what's going on. Guys, what is the reaction?
Wolf, lots of discussion on the left and the right in the blogging community of the speech last night. And amongst the conservative bloggers, some critics, that in the least, there are some criticism out there of what was in the speech and the amount of federal spending that might be out there. Not uniform by any stretch of the imagination. HughHewitt.com, this is one conservative blogger who said, a good speech by a good man. Perfect pitch return tonight, although he says that at some points he did sound a little bit like FDR. At captainsquartersblog.com, this is Ed Morrissey. Captain Ed, who blogs at this site, says better late than never. He liked the tone of the speech, what was being said by President Bush, but he thinks that this is something the president should have done last week or by the weekend at the very latest. Another problem with the timing, one aspect of the speech at michellemalkin.com, and again, another conservative blogger. What Michelle was saying is that it seemed too late, almost 3 weeks had passed until this phone number was given out by President Bush so people could find their missing relatives. And what Michelle pointed out was the amount of people online who almost immediately were trying to reunite people, look for missing persons. She pointed to her blog post of August 30th, right after the storm hit, trying to get people together and organize aid drives. One theme we're seeing again and again on the right, though, is this one from LaShawn Barber. Bush the sugar daddy. Spend, spend, spend is what she said.
Seeing that also at redstate.org. This is Eric. He opened a live blogging open thread during the speech, and he says, what I hear, nothing but dollar signs. But as Geraldine Merritt points out at talkleft.com, she calls the conservatives complaining about money hypocritical. She says billions for Iraq, no questions asked, but money for Americans to rebuild, She says now we got to ask questions. What is this one all about? A lot of people picking up on the substance of the president's speech, picking out certain phrases and certain words, saying that it's not about more federal expenditure, it's not about more federal authority, it's about what they did wrong and getting it better. And Wolf, really what we're seeing a lot of is it's the devil in the details. It's not the words, it's going to be about the execution.
All right, guys, thank you very much. It's 5 p.m. here in Washington, and you're in the Situation Room, where news and information from around the world arrive in one place simultaneously. Happening now, 4 p.m. Central Time, New Orleans, where talk is turning from disaster to rebuilding. 5 p.m. over at the White House, where President Bush says the economy can handle the tremendous cost without raising taxes. Can it be done? And coming home from a war zone to a disaster zone. We're there as one soldier returns from Iraq to his home in New Orleans. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Helping the nearly helpless. Despite visible signs of progress weeks after Katrina, there are still signs of just how critical this mission is. The American Red Cross says it's helped 110,000 evacuees in Atlanta alone. That's almost 40,000 families. Meanwhile, the Department of Homeland Security says more than 500,000 households are receiving over $1 billion in federal aid. In terms of paying for the massive relief effort, new comments from President Bush today. The president says the government will pay for it by looking for ways to cut spending, but not by raising taxes. Let's go straight to New Orleans. CNN's Mary Snow is standing by live. She has more on what's happening today. Mary?
Well, Wolf, with pledges for money out there, there's also a vow to rebuild this city. Starting tomorrow, some businesses will be allowed back into New Orleans to try and get their businesses back and running. On Monday, their residents will be moving into certain areas. However, it is a monumental task to rebuild. Earlier today, we took a tour of the Superdome. It was so badly damaged, it is still being cleaned out and decontaminated. And you can see it is still cluttered with miles of debris, filth in there. Also the smell, the stench still lingering, but it is much clearer than it was even a week ago. Also, this had been the symbol of such despair as thousands of people went to the Superdome as a last resort, stranded in there for days waiting for help. Earlier today, we caught up with the commander of the Special Reaction Team of the Louisiana National Guard, who was in the Superdome immediately following the hurricane, had been there for several days, saying that while it was bad, it could have been worse.
It would have been, law of the jungle, the strong survive, and we would have had a lot more instances of attacks and, maybe some of these stories that are going around would have actually been 100% truthful rather than, kind of rumor mill stuff. But it was bad, but it was made a lot better.
And Commander David Blackwell saying that it was made a lot better by the Louisiana National Guard and military personnel who've been criticized. He said that they helped restore some order in what had been described as chaos inside that Superdome. The future of the Superdome really is still in limbo. Also, the convention center, the mayor of New Orleans does have plans for that convention center. He wants it to be a sign of life as the city rebuilds. He mentioned yesterday that he would like to see this as a kind of a retail center as people move back into the city. But a long process ahead. And Wolf, around this city, besides the military here and all the workers, the relief workers, we're also seeing civilians coming in, helping to clean up hotels and businesses. One I met earlier today, he's an 18-year-old. He had gone to Houston, said he came back because he feels that he's doing his part to rebuild New Orleans. Wolf?
Mary Snow in New Orleans for us. Thank you. Once the troops moved in, they quickly took control of the streets of the city, and from rescue to rebuilding throughout the disaster zone, the U.S. military has clearly made a huge difference. But should the response have been even quicker? Our Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr has just emerged from a briefing with the general in charge. She's joining us on the phone now from New Orleans. Barbara, what are you learning?
Well, Wolf, we've been in a number of briefings today where both Vice Admiral Thad Allen, General Russell Honore have briefed congressional leaders and also city leaders again on their plan. Now, we're not allowed to sit in the entire briefing, but we have talked to many officials during the day who have sat in on those briefings. And both military commanders, congressional leaders we are talking to, and others who were in those meetings tell us that one of the major topics of discussion today here in New Orleans has been military lessons learned. What did the president mean last night, for example, when he talked about a potentially greater role for the military in the future, in future disaster situations? Well, what we are hearing here is that they are talking about a number of changes that they could make that would put the active duty military force into disaster relief situations much more quickly in the future, that they feel now that was a real problem, that they did not get called in soon enough. One of the things they're talking about is the possibility of an overall military commander next time. Remember, General Honoré is only in charge technically of the active duty forces, although he has tremendous influence here. They think that maybe they need to change it so next time there's an overall military commander in charge of both the active duty and the National Guard. That's been one of the big topics of conversation. But on the issue that Mary was talking about bringing the city back, getting reconstruction moving, bringing people back into New Orleans, getting them jobs and housing, one of the things that Admiral Allen told us today is there might need to be a dusk-to-dawn curfew in the downtown area for some time to come. There is still concern about having enough basic security in the city, and also just the very simple fact of getting the fire department back up and fully running. You can't have businesses open and not have a functioning fire department that can readily move throughout the city. So there's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of those conversations going on across New Orleans.
All right, Barbara, stand by. We're getting some live pictures. I want to bring those to our viewers right now. You were just mentioning fires. This is a live shot we're getting from a helicopter flying over parts of New Orleans. You see this fire that's raging right now. Not an unusual situation. Unfortunately, over these past 18, 19 days, a lot of fires have erupted in this city. As the water gets out, there's still a lot of oil. There's a lot of debris. A lot of these wooden structures are significantly endangered, and that's why these fires are erupting. These are live pictures that you're seeing right now. It looks like some sort of apartment unit complex. You see a swimming pool up in the upper part of the screen. You just saw it a second or so ago, and you see these people, workers there. I don't know if any firefighters are on the scene yet. I haven't seen any yet. Normally the firefighters will get there as quickly as they possibly can. I don't see any operating right there. Helicopters have been coming in and dropping literally these huge buckets of water on these fires that erupt as well. This looks like some sort of garden-style apartment complex with the pool in the middle and the roof clearly on fire, this fire spreading. These are live pictures we're getting in from New Orleans right now. Another fire that is underway. Our Tom Foreman's coming over here. We're going to talk a little bit about this because he knows New Orleans very, very well. He's been there on many occasions. He worked there as a younger reporter. Tom, as you see this fire, it does look like an apartment complex, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, Wolf, and I'm guessing from all the appearances here, this is somewhere in New Orleans east.
Here the firefighters have arrived. You see them preparing to deal with this problem.
Yeah, this will be, I believe this is going to be somewhere in New Orleans east. I don't know that, but it has a sort of a look of New Orleans east to it in some ways, which are some of the areas that were flooded hard, although obviously this area was somewhat dry here. Obviously with firefighters like this, you know what they're going to do. Their job right now is just to protect these other buildings here because you can see the degree of fire there. When you've been to a lot of fires like this, you know that basically
you have to contain it because otherwise it's going to spread.
And this whole area, that whole side over there, that's gone. Even though part of it's up now, you see the smoke in the other parts. There's not much they can do about that. What they can do is stop it here.
They've got the hose. Some of the problems we've seen, though, earlier in recent days is they arrive, they've got the hose, but guess what? The water isn't working. They can't pump it.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. They're getting this all worked out. But this is the thing that, that everybody's been so worried about down there. And I think it's really a heartbreaker for a lot of people right now because they're saying we survived the flood. Maybe we survived some of the looting. Maybe we survived many things that have gone on. And now this kind of thing is going on. This is one of the reasons why they're trying to get people back into town. I know a lot of people are critical of the notion of how quickly you bring people back. One of the reasons they want to get back many people is they're saying, look, if I'm there tending to my property, maybe I can keep this kind of thing from happening. If this is an apartment complex, clearly, and what is this going to be the home for anywhere from 12 to 20 different families, maybe, depending on how big the units are in there?
Right.
So the notion would be for many people, look, if some of us were back there, maybe we could do something about it. And frankly, some of the people I saw roaming around there looked more like residents than any kind of workers.
They look like people who were there. We see the firefighters in the back, and they've got the hose. I haven't seen any water coming out of that hose yet. It'll be interesting to see if they can actually start dousing that fire with some water, getting some water into this situation. These firefighters, a lot of them, by the way, as you know, are not New Orleans firefighters. They've come in, they've volunteered. They've come in from all parts of the country, including New York City. A few hundred New York City firefighters have come into New Orleans, but they're coming in from all parts of the city to deal with this situation. And I can't tell where that fire truck is from, but a lot of times they come in from neighboring states and some not so neighboring states. They bring their own equipment. It says St. Rose, I think it said St. Rose Volunteer Fire Department on the back of that truck at the bottom of the screen. I couldn't see what it said on the other truck. But these are live pictures coming in via a helicopter that's flying over the city. It's got a camera mounted on that helicopter, and it's bringing us these live pictures.
I'll give you a sense on the satellite view of what we're talking about here. If we can bring that out, we can show you the area generally we're talking about when we talk about New Orleans East. This is one of the hardest hit
a lot of wooden structures in all of New Orleans.
A tremendous number. Now, these are newer ones here.
So here comes the water. You see the water is now coming out of those hoses, which is very, very good news.
And they'll just try to do exactly what we talked about. They'll try to knock down some of the heavy heat, get the flames contained, don't let them jump to the next one. They're not going to put this part out as such because that's a hard thing to do, at least not immediately. They'll just try to get it under control a little bit, keep it all in that area, and not let it jump to these buildings over here. But this looks to me to be over in the New Orleans East area, which is one of the hardest hit areas. We'll talk a little bit about the water because that's one of the things they're having to deal with in terms of solving all this. Right now, the areas that still have a lot of water in them or significant amount of water, right here over in, as you get to New Orleans East and into St. Bernard Parish down towards Chalmette, there's a little swath in here with a lot of water. This part of New Orleans East up in here still has a lot of water in it. And out here toward Mid-City and the lakefront, there's still a good bit of water up in these areas. A lot of other areas have some water, but it's coming under some control. So that's going to help them get in and work on these pipes and electricity and all the things they have to get to, because even in New Orleans, where so little goes underground, water pipes go underground, and that's one of the difficulties when the ground's covered with water dealing with it.
Well, they're making progress, but that's a stubborn blaze. Other times we've seen those helicopters fly over and sort of precision drop buckets of water. Is this the kind of fire you think that's suitable for that, or should they do it this way with the hoses from the bottom up?
Well, I mean, certainly you can do that, but you're getting a lot of water on a fire with a hose like this as opposed to a bucket drop, which is one big splash. Maybe you've hit it right, maybe you've done a great job, but nonetheless you now have a 10-minute delay while you get back. You see how these fires settle in. A lot of times what firefighters try to do in a situation like this is they try to overlay the fire with the water, because partially it creates a blanket and the fire smothers itself beneath the blanket of water. You can't do that with a bucket drop. A bucket drop is explosive. A lot of water comes down. You may put it out, you may not. But the bucket drop is important because it lets you get to the areas you can't otherwise get to. But look at that. See, the water is actually going up over the fire. And what that does is create that blanket that helps smother the fire. They want to put some at the actual source of the fire, but a lot of it's about smothering the fire out, and they're actually controlling this a lot quicker than I would have expected.
Yeah, the flames are still there, but they're certainly less so than earlier, but you're going to still need some significant amount of water to completely end it, and then at some point they actually have to go in there and make sure that it's out once and for all.
I think these things terrify all these many people who are all over the country now from New Orleans seeing this, and yet I know from talking to many friends they are taking some solace from exactly what we saw happen here. Big fire, it broke out, but the firefighters actually got there. They actually had water, and they're actually tending to it. So there's a sense that the town is coming back to a workable level, I think, which is important to a lot of people.
But some residents see this and they say, you know what, maybe I'm better off living in Dallas or Shreveport or someplace else.
Yeah, you know what we don't have a good count on yet? We have a count of like people in the shelter. They've done a poll indicating, what, 40% or so maybe coming back, 40% not, and some others undecided at this point. What we don't have a good count on now, which will really matter, is all the people who did not go to shelters but who went to relatives' homes, to friends' homes, to hotels, all over this country. And again, I think they're in every state of this country right now. Those are many, many, many people who are more middle class, upper middle class, people who will run a lot of these businesses. We don't know yet how many of them are coming back. And they're watching all these pictures too and trying to decide when will it be good to get back in.
I want to bring in our Ali Velchi, who's watching this together with us here in the Situation Room. Ali, we don't know if this area was underwater, if the water has been drained, and if there, it looks like there was some water there, and maybe there was some oil, and maybe there was some sludge and stuff that really could make fires worse than would normally be the case. But I'm interested in what you think.
Well, this is what I'm kind of looking at here is a juxtaposition between this and what else we've been hearing about how parts of New Orleans are getting back to normal, because this, as we've known since the first days of the flooding after Katrina, has been a very serious problem. It continues to add to the devastation, and yet what we've been hearing is that there are other parts of New Orleans where things are starting to get back to normal. We're going to start to see people repopulating. I just heard from FedEx. They are resuming deliveries in New Orleans starting tomorrow. The kind of things that have to happen for businesses to get back up and running are going on. So normalcy starts to arrive in some parts of New Orleans, and then you look at things like this and you realize this is still a city that, you know, we've heard on our air, Wolf, described as looking like a war zone in some places or deserted. This continues to be a challenge. We just heard word that the New York firefighters that were sent to New Orleans to help out have returned to New York after 10 days there. A lot of cities sent firefighters to New York. So now we're back to, this is the New Orleans Fire Department. In most cases, trying to handle this themselves. This is a fire department whose members have had their homes devastated and have to suffer through this as well. So this continues to be a challenge. This city, as normal as some things look, is not by any stretch of the imagination normal.
All right, we're going to watch this effort to put this fire out. We're going to go back there. We're going to take a quick break. We're also getting some remarkable video. Get this, we're going to show it to you when we come back. 19 days after Hurricane Katrina struck the Gulf Coast, there has been a rescue. And we're going to show you the video of what happened just a little while ago. By the way, that fire is about 3 miles, we're told, southwest of the New Orleans International Airport. That's the Louis Armstrong International Airport. Much more of our coverage here in the Situation Room right after this.
All design begins with a single line. A line that challenges. A line that creates power or control or size. At infinity, a line has been drawn.
At UBS, we offer our clients serious financial resources. Over 100 years of experience, the expertise of the world's largest wealth management firm, and, of course, the most serious resource of all, a relationship with an advisor who actually understands you. Wealth management at UBS, from wealth preservation to lending and investment. You and us. UBS.
I was here before here had a name. As fields became farms, as grasslands became greens, and now as families become neighbors, till after their kids become parents, I'll be here. A natural gas well, one of Kerr-McGee's thousands, meeting energy demand in harmony with the land, with still more to explore.
CNN Tonight. Former President Bill Clinton for the hour, his hurricane relief project with former President Bush, and his new global initiative. Larry King, CNN Tonight, 9.
Put some power into your summer with a Banks power system from Valley RV Center. The Northwest's #1 Banks dealer is making it easy. Whether you own a truck or a motorhome, a Banks power system will deliver incredible torque and horsepower to your engine. Gas or diesel, you'll blow away the competition. Steep grades, towing, passing, freeway on-ramps, no problem, with power to spare. And you'll see a dramatic increase in your fuel mileage. But the best part? Now through September 30th, Valley RV is offering 50% off installation, a savings of up to $1,000. Hurry in today. Valley RV Center, where the journey begins.
Confused by the claims DSL's been making? Blah, blah, fast. Blah, blah, cool. Look, the fact is, Comcast high-speed internet blows DSL away. We're talking speeds up to 5 times faster. More speed means you can do more online, with exclusive features that, well, DSL just doesn't have. So if you're settling for DSL, you're getting left behind. No wonder more people across America choose Comcast high-speed internet. Call 1-888-COMCAST today.
No one asked them to help, they just did. Heroes Among Us, CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
These are live pictures. You're seeing a fire about 3 miles southwest of the New Orleans International Airport. A fire that's been continuing now for, I'm guessing, about 15, 20 minutes or so. Firefighters on the scene. They've been pouring lots of water on it, but those flames still there. It's a lot less significant than it was only a few moments ago. Tom Foreman's here in the Situation Room with me. We're watching this effort by these firefighters. We don't know if they're local New Orleans firefighters or firefighters who have volunteered to come in from other parts of the country who are dealing with this problem. Unfortunately, it's been all too regular in New Orleans in the aftermath of Katrina, 19 days now, to see these fires erupt.
Yeah, and this, I was totally wrong about where this was. I kept thinking this was New Orleans East. It's not. If it's southwest of the airport, let's take a look at the city right here. This is the part of the city we all know down here, where you've got the Superdome and you've got the French Quarter and all of that. That's right downtown here. So when you go out to the airport, you're actually going west of town, quite a distance up the river here, about 15 miles or so to the airport itself, and that's the airport. So when you move southwest of that, that's down here, and there's not a whole lot out here. This is an area that also, we haven't heard much reportings about the flooding from or the hurricane damage. So you're talking about a fire here that clearly was in an area that wasn't hugely affected, at least from what we know.
At least by floods.
Yeah, exactly. And this may be one of the reasons we're seeing people around there who look like residents of the area, because you may be far enough out past Kenner, which is one of the western suburbs, for it to be an issue for them. May not be such an issue with the people being in there as it was in other areas. So it'll be interesting to find out about this fire, whether this had anything to do with the hurricane or flood, or if it was something else entirely.
Occasionally those live pictures flash to black for a split second. That's because these pictures are coming live from a helicopter, and they're sent to a relay station, and sometimes they have that little flash in order for the microwave system to work. It looks like it's almost contained. At least we don't see huge. There's some flames still coming out of that roof, but it's by no means not as serious. There's some smoldering that's clearly still going on in that apartment complex. We saw the swimming pool there. And the good news is that the water is working in that part of town, so the hoses can work and these firefighters can get the job done. The most important thing is to prevent this fire from spreading, because clearly there are a lot of wooden houses in that area. I don't think it's rained much over the past couple of weeks in New Orleans, but there's been a lot of water and unfortunately a lot of debris and a lot of oil, a lot of fuel that literally can fuel these kinds of fires if they're going in the wrong direction.
I think that when this whole hurricane is done, one of the things we're going to hear is, aside from the Coast Guard, which everybody says from the beginning, they've just been complete champions throughout this, I think there's going to be an awful lot of praise for the firefighters of this city, because you remember during some of the first days, there were fires in the middle of the flooding, and time and again, they seem to find a way to get a fireboat near it, to get a firefighter near it, to get somebody near it, and to do something about it. I think we're going to be surprised at the end, the tremendous stories that come out of what firefighters did throughout this region to keep that very problem from an explosion in one part of town that just goes from the next house to the next and next. That really saved a lot of New Orleans.
I think firefighters we could praise every single day for the work they do, the work, the courageous work, the important work they're doing here. And now we're seeing this helicopter move on a little bit away from that fire. The smoke, though, clearly evident, even over these trees.
Yeah, that's where I set out. And this part of when I said there wasn't much out there, look at this. I mean, it's basically woods around here, and it's really quite a distance out.
It looks like a nice little garden-style apartment unit with the swimming pools in each little condominium section, or if it's a rental. It's a nice little area, but if you're seeing, you can see the area. Maybe we'll see that airport, which is only about 3 miles or so away. But we just see
here we are. We're by the river here. Now we have an idea of where we are. Yeah. And you see some of the river traffic up there, which we've been talking about coming back into play.
Oh, yeah, here they're coming up. You see that? That's the bucket that's going to be used. They're getting some water from that river. That would be the Mississippi River, right?
Yes, that's a Mississippi.
And this
right
helicopter is going to take that water. And let's watch this play out. You see the helicopter hovering at the top of your screen, and you see that bucket being filled up.
Here. That's right. Got two.
And it looks like those helicopters may be getting ready to take that water from the Mississippi River and simply dump it on that complex, unless there's another fire that we haven't been seeing. You see how it scoops up the water down there? I hope this water is clean. I'm sure it's not too clean.
not too clean out there.
But it's probably good enough to put a fire out if that's what they're going to do. These live pictures that we're getting in, you see this helicopter hovering over. It's going to lift up the bucket of water and take it over.
You know, it's amazing, Wolf, because there's so many cities where this would not even be possible. The Mississippi River, it was the origin of New Orleans in many ways, still critically important. It's actually, in some ways, as somebody who lived there and loves the city, it's fascinating to see how the river time and time again plays a critical role in New Orleans' survival. And this is something, a lot of cities you couldn't even do this in, but here it's possible under these circumstances.
Usually you use those helicopters for forest fires or something in a remote. I don't really remember in an urban setting seeing these helicopters come in and trying to put the fires out like that. Do you?
Yeah, I've never seen it tried in an urban area like this. I've seen a lot of wildland fires, forest fires, grass fires, that sort of thing. And there, usually the issue is getting a source of water close enough. They'll grab a pond or a lake or something, but often you're talking about a big flying distance. We can see from the high shots here, this is, what, a half mile from the water? Maybe a mile?
We see a lot of smoke, but we do see still some flames inside, and you got to get those flames out before you can move in and start dealing with this fire. Look at this. The helicopter's bringing some water. Let's see where they're bringing it to. We'll stay with this picture and show our viewers what's going on. We've seen this whole new, is there a technical term that is used for these helicopters and these buckets of water? I'm sure there is that I'm not familiar with.
Well, I'm not familiar with it either. I know the planes are often called slurry planes because of the material they drop, which is different than water. Planes are often used to drop a fire retardant over a large area, which of course is more suited for a forest fire or a grass fire than what you're talking about here.
When you see this helicopter bringing that huge bucket of water over, I assume it's coming to that apartment unit, but maybe not. Maybe they're going to another fire someplace else. Unfortunately, these fires are erupting in various parts of the city. This one looks pretty much like it's out of business. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Of course, they have to tend to the whole inside of the building here because they have smoke and hot spots. That's what they all have to tend to. But they've got it largely under control at this point. I'll tell you another group of heroes in this whole thing are these helicopter pilots.
Yeah.
A
lot of them are Coast Guard pilots too.
Well, you know from your dealing with helicopters, helicopters require a very specific skill, a certain mindset, and when you have as many helicopters as they have flying in that area, hundreds of them in that airspace, they try to keep them separated from each other by certain ways, but really, a lot of times you're relying on the expertise of these pilots, and some of these pilots have been working hour after hour after hour and doing just an extraordinary job because it's not an easy trick to drop down with a chopper, scoop up water, get that enormous amount of weight, carry it, deliver it, all in areas that have all sorts of above-ground power lines and radio towers and all sorts of things they have to watch out for.
As we look at this, it looks like it's pretty much, I don't know if that bucket's going to be even needed because these guys on the ground, these firefighters, have done a very good job in putting this fire out, and I'm sure if it isn't out yet, it's going to be out very, very soon.
It even looked like maybe they waved off the last one. It looked like it went away full.
They may have gotten word to that helicopter pilot, not necessary, go do something else. So we'll watch this fire and continue to see what's going on.
Well, you mentioned earlier, Wolf, Ali was talking about the return of business there and what people are doing there. One of the things that is very interesting, and it seems like a strange thing to talk about now, but it really does matter in New Orleans, all this talk now that there may actually be a Mardi Gras in 2006. Now, that sounds like a big party. If you're from somewhere else in the country, you think, well, why would you be talking about a big party and all of that? Mardi Gras is so essential to the economic health of that area and to the sense of how people are there, that the more they get this under control, the more these neighborhoods are repopulated. People are talking about that and saying, maybe so, maybe life in New Orleans can get back to something like normal.
All right, Tom, stay with me because we're going to continue our coverage not only of this fire, we've got some new video. We're going to show you a rescue of a man 19 days after Hurricane Katrina hit. There's been a rescue operation, and we're going to show you what happened. Unfortunately, we're also getting word from Beirut, Lebanon. A huge explosion has once again rocked that troubled city. We'll tell you what's going on. Much more here in the Situation Room. News continuing to unfold even as we speak.
Presenting Blue from American Express, the card with no annual fee and an introductory rate of 0% for up to 15 months with a low APR after. Call 1-800-600-BLUE or visit us online to get yours. You can pay over time, which makes this card remarkably flexible. It has a free rewards program with so many choices, it'll make your head spin. Plus, it has a fraud detection system which gives you extra security when you shop. All this with an introductory rate of 0% for up to 15 months and a low APR after. Call 1-800-600-BLUE or visit us online to apply. Blue from American Express.
Covering grays has never been easier. Your Excellence Cream has this professional root applicator in every box, so you can easily comb grays away and get beautiful, even color from root to tip. Excellence Cream from L'Oreal. What will they think of next?
It's time lenders treated people with respect. That's why eLoan offers home equity loans with faster responses and rates as low as 5.49%. Those are some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan. Radically simple.
The HP Blade System server powered by Intel Xeon processors. Consolidation made easy.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Got a story emerging from Beirut, Lebanon. A huge explosion, a powerful explosion, unfortunately, has rocked that city once again. It occurred in the eastern part of the Lebanese capital. That's a largely Christian section. The cause not immediately known, injuries not immediately known. It occurred just before midnight. These are pictures that are coming in from Al Jazeera, and you can see the aftermath of this powerful explosion. Since February 14th, there have been a string of bomb blasts that have rocked Lebanon. That was when the former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri was slain in a car bombing on a Beirut street. That was on February 14th. Since then, there have been several other terrorist attacks, explosions, car bombings. Explosion comes after a UN investigator visited Damascus to set up interviews with top Syrian officials over Hariri's assassination. There have been allegations that Syria may have played a role, or at least pro-Syrian Lebanese officials may have played a role in the assassination of the former Lebanese prime minister. We're watching this story carefully. We'll continue to monitor it and get it to you. But let's immediately go over to the White House. Our White House correspondent, Dana Bash, is standing by. She has another very important story just coming into the Situation Room. Dana?
Hi, Wolf. Well, the Vice President's office tells us that he is going to have what they call elective surgery to remove an aneurysm in the artery behind his right knee, and that is going to happen next weekend. According to his top aide, Steve Schmidt, he says that this is something that the Vice President wants to address so it doesn't become a problem over time. He says that this procedure will be performed under local anesthetic. He will be in the hospital, but they say he will return to work shortly thereafter. Now, of course, when we hear about the Vice President and we hear about health issues, it does raise concern because of his problems in the past with his heart. There is no indication that this, at this point, is related to his heart problems, but, you know, at this point, it's still very early, and none of us are physicians, so we're trying to get more information about that.
Did he say, Dana, Steve Schmidt, how long the Vice President would be in the hospital for this procedure?
No, he did not say how many days. He did say it would be a short hospital stay. Unclear exactly how long that will be, but he did seem to indicate that this would be a quick return to work. Again, he'll be under local anesthetic to get this done. Again, it is to remove an aneurysm in the artery behind his right knee.
We know his cardiologist and his heart team is affiliated with George Washington University Hospital here in Washington. I assume that's where he'll go for this procedure. That's where he's gone for all of his other checkups, all of his other procedures in recent years.
He has for his heart. We know over the summer that he actually was in Denver, Colorado, for what we were told at the time, and still could be the case, looking at what they called an old knee injury. So he does have other doctors to deal with other ailments, if you will, around the country. But you're right, GW is where they dealt with his heart. It's unclear. We do not know at this point where he will get this particular procedure done, Wolf.
All right, we're going to try to check in with one of our medical correspondents, maybe Dr. Sanjay Gupta, get a cardiologist and other specialists to get a little bit better feel of what this means. Dan, if you get some more information, let us know. The vice president going in for some surgery next weekend to deal with an aneurysm behind his knee. The former Secretary of Defense, our World Affairs analyst William Cohen, is here. When you hear that, the Vice President of the United States going in for this kind of procedure, he's got a serious history of heart attacks. What goes through your mind?
Well, obviously you want to make sure he has the best possible medical attention. This is a serious issue, and one that I'm sure that the doctors are going to deal with effectively. Having detected it early, that's on the plus side. So I think it's serious, but obviously if it were an emergency, we'd know about it right away.
In his recent interviews that I've seen with him, he's always asked, how do you feel? And he says, great, doing well. And he said that on many occasions, and let's hope he is feeling well and he's doing great. To a layperson like me, you hear an aneurysm behind the knee. That sounds serious, but we're going to get some medical experts. You're not a doctor, I'm not a doctor, so we don't want to speculate on that.
I've had my share of surgeries, but not with aneurysms.
You don't want to deal with that. Let's talk about what's just happening in Beirut. Even as we speak right now, we're getting these pictures in from Al Jazeera in Beirut. A powerful explosion once again has shaken the city. You can see these pictures right here behind you, Mr. Secretary. In the eastern part of Beirut, East Beirut is largely Christian. And those, the Lebanese Christians, by and large, at least many of them, have been among the fiercest and the opponents of Syrian occupation, which is now over in Lebanon.
Right. And this just points out the kind of turmoil that we're likely to see again in the future. This kind of split on the religious basis poses a problem for stability throughout the region. And just one more example of how dangerous that entire region is, and one more example of why it's going to be very important for the United States to, quote, try and stabilize Iraq if we possibly can.
We'll get some more information on what's happening in Lebanon and bring that to our viewers, get some more information. The other breaking news on the vice president who's going to have this surgery for an aneurysm behind his knee. The president last night in his speech on the Katrina disaster said, you know what? One of the lessons I've already learned is the United States military is sort of the best positioned to deal with these disasters, and we got to learn how to use the military better. You heard those words. You're a former defense secretary, former U.S. senator. You know the subject well. Was he right?
Well, I think right in the sense that the United States military is the only institution in the United States that has the capacity, the logistical capacity, the medical reinforcement capability, providing beds and assistance to those who are either wounded or, in this case, damaged by the hurricane and the winds. But we have to go fairly carefully here. The so-called posse comitatus statute is there for a reason. That historically, Americans have been very suspicious of having a standing army. That standing army can be used for oppression and for tyranny. And so there have been very strict restrictions upon the use of that military. So we've seen some erosion of that act over the years. For example, we use the military for counter-drug activities. You could have the Insurrection Act being applied here, where the president could act to put down a rebellion at the request of a governor as such. So,
but you need the governor to sign off on
that. You've got to be careful on that, because yes, the military could take over and control that very effectively, but then the question is the military in charge or civilian authorities in charge? So it's something that needs to be looked at. Senator Warner, for example, has written to Secretary Rumsfeld to ask for a review of all of the legislation on the book to see what the role of the military should be in the future. In my judgment, this was not an issue of a lack of the military being prepared, but rather a failure of leadership, certainly within the Homeland Security and on down through state and local government. The military was prepared to act, but you've got to have the kind of training exercises, planning, to be able to move quickly in a situation like this, coordinating with the governor of the state and the local mayor, and not wait until 2 or 3 days later, then say, send in the Marines. That's a situation we found ourselves in.
One element of the U.S. government that it worked very well was the United States Coast Guard, which is technically not military. It's not part of the Department of Defense, not part of the Pentagon. It's part of the Department of Homeland Security. But the Coast Guard works well with the military. A lot of our viewers don't necessarily understand the relationship between the Coast Guard on the one hand and the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps on the other.
Well, they've always worked very well together. The Coast Guard has been there to protect our coast, to engage in a number of civilian activities as well as drug interdiction and other things. The thing to keep in mind in this particular situation is Homeland Security has to consider massive damage caused by Mother Nature, her weapons of mass destruction being wind and water and possibly earthquakes, as well as attacks by terrorists. Whenever you have catastrophe on a massive scale, you should have the same kind of planning in place, and we didn't have that. Secondly, we shouldn't look at this just as a regional problem. This is a national problem. If we weren't prepared to deal with this issue, with all of the forewarnings that we've had, not only from the studies done in the past, but the hurricane warnings that this is going to be Category 3, 4, or 5, what does it mean for a massive earthquake in California or some other act of nature which causes catastrophic harm? We are ill prepared. That's a failure of the department itself to think about these issues in a coherent and comprehensive way.
We're going to spend a lot of time Sunday on Late Edition discussing that specific issue. How well prepared or ill prepared are we as a nation? Secretary Cohn, thanks very much for joining us. We're watching 3 important stories that are unfolding right now here in the Situation Room. Huge, powerful blast in Beirut. We'll tell you what's going on in East Beirut right now. The Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, his spokesman, just announced moments ago he'll undergo surgery for an aneurysm behind his knee. We'll tell you what that means. Also, we'll go back to New Orleans, that fire that we've been watching. We'll show you the latest on that. We also have some videotape of a man rescued today, 19 days after the hurricane struck. We'll get much more on this right after this.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
Discipline, research, patience. It's investment expertise in perfect harmony. Van Kampen Investments. Shine.
This is Jim's dream vacation. The trouble is, give me all of them. This isn't Jim. It's Maurice who stole Jim's debit card while Jim files police reports. Presenting the American Express Traveler's Check card. The safety of traveler's checks in a convenient card. It's prepaid and not linked to your bank account. If it's stolen, your balance is replaced in 24 hours.
Big problemo.
It's your vacation. Why lose it? The Traveler's Check card from American Express. Order yours now and get a free companion airfare.
If you're a homeowner with an adjustable rate mortgage, what happens to your monthly payment if the rates go up again? Want peace of mind? Lock in a new low fixed rate loan from Ditech.com while rates are still near their 2-year lows. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
The new 2006 trucks from Mitsubishi Fuso. So productive, so comfortable, so dependable that every 2006 Mitsubishi Fuso carries a 5-year, 175,000-mile powertrain warranty or a 5-year, 250,000-mile powertrain warranty. So, if you want the best medium-duty truck with the best warranty for your business, see your Mitsubishi Fuso dealer.
Thomas Jefferson. His legacy includes the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark Expedition. The Westward Journey Nickel series from the United States Mint commemorates the bicentennials of these events with a new likeness of Thomas Jefferson on the 2005 nickel, plus 2 new historic tail designs. The nickels are included in beautifully crafted silver-proof sets, a great gift idea for any occasion. To order, call 1-800-USA-MINT or visit www.usmint.gov.
We're watching several stories here in the Situation Room. The Vice President, Dick Cheney, is going to undergo a surgery for an aneurysm behind his right knee. We'll go to that and get some more information on that shortly. We're also watching a huge explosion that's rocked East Beirut. Joining us on the phone now, Anthony Mills is a freelance journalist. Anthony, what do we know?
We understand, according to a security source here in Beirut, that a car exploded in a powerful explosion, as you say, in this East Beirut neighborhood. It caused damage. It caused serious damage. Of course, there are pictures of firefighters battling blazing vehicles. A very powerful explosion. According to the security source, there are reports of injuries. We don't know exactly how many at this stage. There are no confirmed reports of deaths, but a very powerful explosion, and a significant one in the sense that it is in the east part of Beirut, a Christian neighborhood, but right in the heart of the city.
The Lebanese Christians, by and large, or at least the political leadership, with the Syrians or against the Syrians, as far as these allegations that Syrian intelligence may or may not have had anything to do with the assassination of Rafiq Hariri?
Well, there really is a split right down the middle almost. There are Christian politicians, Christian players here in Lebanon who say that this is the work of Syrian intelligence agents who remain in the country and who are orchestrating these attacks now that the Syrian forces have withdrawn and an anti-Syrian former opposition has gained a majority in parliament. On the other hand, you have loyal pro-Syrian Christian figures here in Lebanon who say one mustn't jump to conclusions. It's too easy simply to point the finger and say, this is the work of Syria, and they point to other possibilities. We know that President Emil Lahoud of Lebanon has, in the past, pointed to, for example, the dangers posed by Islamic fundamentalism. So people, the pro-Syrian figures in this country, do offer alternative theories, or at least say, let's not jump the gun.
But in recent days, though, a UN investigator did formally accuse at least 4 senior Lebanese security officials in carrying out a Syrian policy in connection with the assassination of Rafiq Hariri. And since then, that was on February 14th, there have been a series of bombings and explosions, car bombings, assassinations in Lebanon. What's it like to be there now?
Well, certainly for several months now, the country has been remarkably tense. And for a while, when we had a bomb almost every week, people were shutting off the street fronts in front of their stores. They were putting up things to prevent cars from parking there. And there really was a sense that something could explode at any moment. Then things calmed down for a little while, and they appeared to have sort of heated up again now. There was the hope that after these 4 security chiefs, 3 former security chiefs and the head of the presidential guard were arrested as suspects in the murder. There was the hope that maybe they might have had something to do with it, and therefore their arrest would put an end to these attacks. But this explosion tonight clearly shows that people are out there orchestrating these kinds of attacks, and they have not in any way been affected by the arrest of these very powerful Lebanese pro-Syrian figures.
Another powerful bomb blast in East Beirut in the Ashrafia district. Anthony Mills helping us with this story. Thank you, Anthony, very much. The other breaking news that we're following, word now from the Vice President's office, one of his top aides, Steve Schmitz specifically, that the Vice President next weekend will undergo surgery for an aneurysm behind his right knee. We're going to get back to the White House, cover this story right after this short break. We'll be right back.
Have a good day. See you tonight.
Okay.
Introducing the all-new Suzuki Grand Vitara. You want more out of life? We're giving you the green light. Go.
Before FEMA, before the military, they acted. Now their amazing stories must be told. CNN presents Heroes Among Us. CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
RV buyers, don't miss Valley RV Center's summer closeout barbecue and RV sale Saturday and Sunday in McMinnville. Save thousands. Brand new travel trailers starting at just $133 a month. New motorhomes at just $396 a month. We've got low rate financing, factory reps, and RV parts sale, and best of all, free parking, free admission, and a delicious free barbecue. Come see the fastest pickup in the world, the Banks powered Sidewinder. Valley RV Center's summer closeout barbecue and RV sale this weekend in McMinnville. Don't miss it.
Over 300 used vehicles all in one place. It's Premier Auto Group's used car tent sale, September 16th through 18th at Clackamas Town Center. Cars, trucks, SUVs, minivans, every make, model, color, and option you could want for 3 days only. Premier will have cars starting at $1,500 and low financing. Guaranteed financing, or we'll fill your gas tank for the trouble. We'll pay off your trade no matter how much you are, all in one place, all for 3 days only. And brought to you by Premier Auto Group, September 16th through 18th at Clackamas Town Center.
In 2000, help wanted advertising for newspapers was an $8 billion market. In 2004, it was just over $4 billion. So where'd the money go? The answer is that fewer new companies were hiring. Companies became more productive with existing employees, and many business owners started advertising their jobs online. This change eliminated almost $3 billion a year in recruiting costs. Is your company ready to start saving too? I'm David Batstone.
It's time for the annual Corvallis Fall Festival, the weekend of September 24th and 25th. It's a free celebration for everyone in Central Park, downtown Corvallis. Enjoy a beautiful fall weekend, see arts and crafts from around the Northwest, children's activities, and plenty of delicious food. Music on the main stage throughout the day, and Saturday Night Street Dance features piano man Scott Fisher. Don't miss the Corvallis Fall Festival, September 24th and 25th, downtown.
Weather is the news. Trust CNN. It's essential.
Busy news day here in the Situation Room. I want to update you, first of all, on that fire that we saw in New Orleans just a little while ago. It looks like it's pretty much out right now. These are pictures that just came in to CNN from a helicopter flying over the city. It was pretty bad. It looks like a garden-style apartment unit about 3 miles southwest of the New Orleans International Airport. Good work is that the firefighters managed to get that fire out. Elsewhere in New Orleans, I want to show our viewers some videotape we also got in 19 days after Hurricane Katrina hit. There was a rescue operation. This individual, this man on the stretcher there, he had been holed out for 19 days. He survived. He's being taken care of right now, but this is a new video that we've gotten in only a little while ago. Someone saved after 19 days, effectively being alone. We don't have a lot of details, but we do know that this individual who is being put on the stretcher right there right now is okay. At least we believe he's okay. The medical personnel are going to take good care of him. Emergency medical personnel on the scene 19 days after this hurricane struck. He's alive and well, we hope. We'll continue to watch this story. Meanwhile, members of the Louisiana National Guard have been coming home from combat duty in Iraq. Many have no homes left and have yet to learn the fate of family members. CNN's Alex Quaid spent some time with the 141st Field Artillery. That's a unit based in downtown New Orleans. Alex takes us along on a journey right now, a journey of one soldier who went from Baghdad to New Orleans.
Combat mission is complete. Dismissed.
Staff Sergeant Scott Anders is one of the lucky ones. His family is here to welcome him home. But after 18 months fighting in Iraq,
it meant everything to get on with my family.
He's wondering if he has a New Orleans home to come to.
Yeah, it's really sad. These guys don't know what they're coming home to.
Hey, Mom. How you doing?
In Iraq, Anders was a forward observer, calling in air support and artillery. He survived firefights, a suicide car bomb which killed one of his men, and a grenade attack on his Humvee.
Does your wife know about any of this?
No, I told my wife I worked in an office the whole time.
His first night home, he and his wife camped with his parents at an RV park turned evacuation shelter.
Everything that you own that's left is what you have right here, what you brought back from Iraq.
Everything. All my clothes, everything I know of right now that I own is in these bags.
We drive to New Orleans to see if his home's still there.
How far up do they start putting roadblocks out?
Through checkpoints,
like in Iraq.
How you doing, sir?
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
Good.
I'm trying to make it in by my house right now. I just got in from Iraq about 2 days ago.
And into his neighborhood. Their home?
So far, okay.
It did okay.
I'm gonna go check on my car. I was in Iraq watching news and saw guys coming down in rowboats coming by the street, so I didn't expect to find anything. Yes.
You expected the water to be basically at roof level, or
I expected the first floor to be gone.
at least the first floor?
First floor to be gone. I expected my car to be gone. I expected a lot. You could smell like a mildew smelling. We got lucky, you know that.
Only water damage to the basement.
I have no clue whose canoe this is. No clue.
The water was probably about stair height and receded, left the canoe, somebody else's canoe.
Yes.
But you've had very, very little damage.
My father lost his business, my brother lost his house, my aunt lost her house. My wife's, pretty much her whole family lost their houses, so it's a lot knowing that we're probably the fortunate ones out of our whole family, and now it's just going to help everybody else in my family and the community who lost everything. Yeah, I brought a lot of it from Iraq.
These were some of the first things that you grabbed when you went back into your house.
I'm worried about looters trying to get there. I'm worried about when we start coming back in, people said there's such a gasoline shortage that people are actually robbing people for gasoline. Like when you're going to Iraq, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what to expect. And it's the same thing. It's like going into the next step, not knowing what's going to happen, what to expect.
Another thing he didn't expect, soldiers in his neighborhood.
And who are they with?
They're with the Puerto Rican National Guard.
The Puerto Rican National Guard?
Yes, ma'am. They're out here foot patrolling.
Like your brothers in arms there, huh?
Yeah, it felt good.
Sergeant Anders' new mission, Katrina relief duty with his Louisiana National Guard unit.
We've helped out the people in Iraq. Now we can focus on a state mission, help out these people. I'm looking forward to helping them out because not everybody was as fortunate as I was.
For Sergeant Anders, from major combat operations to major cleanup operations. Alex Quaid, CNN, New Orleans.
With so many in need after Hurricane Katrina, there's an outpouring of support from around the country. Now there's a new internet site that will tell you how to help. Our internet reporter Jackie Schechter checking the situation online. Jackie?
Wolf, we have been bringing you opportunities online for weeks now, but President Bush mentioned this one specifically last night. We just wanted to show it to you very quickly. USAFreedomCorps.gov. If you click on it, it is searchable by state. It's become a clearinghouse to match volunteers with opportunities and people who want to donate goods and services with the people who need them. What it'll do, if you click on it, you search, it'll take you to other sites. It'll take you away from the government site to other organizations. Some of the opportunities, a very wide range of things that you can do. For example, a Bay Area food bank that is boxing up to bring down to Mississippi. Another one is Aid Sale, where you have medical teams that can go down and help in the area, and then the local Red Cross chapter where you can volunteer in your area specifically. Wolf, again, it's USAFreedomCorps.gov.
Thanks, Jackie. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll update you on the condition of the Vice President, Dick Cheney. Stay with us.
Great taste. Great taste. Less filling. What do we look for in a recruit? Well, you need skill. On the field of beer, there's no time for hesitation. You have to be quick. You may have only seconds to spot a nut Miller Lite. You gotta have substance. This is not a job for the weak. Personal style, very important.
Roughing the palate! Roughing the palate!
Finding one with all the right stuff, well, that's just rare, isn't it?
Credit card bills, late payments, medical bills. Financial stress can happen to anyone. If you're a homeowner and you need cash, call or log on to ditech.com and take the Ditech Challenge. We'll guarantee you the lowest rate and fee and help you to consolidate debts and lower your payments, even if your credit is less than perfect. Put us to the test and find out why so many other lenders are saying, lost another loan to Ditech. Log on or call 1-800-80-DITECH.
Why do we work? Why do we get up every day and leave the people we love? At the Principal Financial Group, we know you work for more than just a paycheck. For 120 years, the Principal has helped people keep more of the money they make and do more with the money they save. You work hard. We make work hard for you. The Principal Financial Group. We understand what you're working for.
Last year, Norfolk Southern and its shipping partners took hundreds of thousands of freight loads off the highway. In fact, they've invested millions to convert even more traffic in the coming years. So it's easy to see how the economy won't be the only thing that benefits. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation.
For about a quarter a day, just $7.95 a month per unit, Colonial Penn offers guaranteed acceptance life insurance to people ages 50 to 85. These days, funeral costs alone average over $6,000. Now you can get help with no medical exam, no health questions. And the rate of $7.95 a month per unit is guaranteed never to increase.
Call 1-800-529-5402 to receive free information in the mail. Call now.
Stay with CNN throughout the night for continuing information. The Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, will undergo surgery next weekend for an aneurysm behind his right knee. We'll have specific details. That's coming up. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. Lou Dobbs Tonight starts right now. Kitty Pilgrim sitting in for Lou. Kitty?
Thanks, Wolf. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, engineers say they've reached the halfway point in the operation to drain floodwater from New Orleans, but 40% of that city is still underwater. At the same time, President Bush today declares he's confident the nation can pay for the rebuilding effort. The president ruled out any tax increases. Now we begin our coverage with Mary Snow in New Orleans. Mary, how are the people in New Orleans reacting to the president's promise to rebuild the city?
Well, Kitty, some of the people who've been displaced say they have simply lost their faith in the federal government, that their short-term needs haven't yet been met. Others are praising the president's pledge, and still others say they hope, like the governor of Louisiana, Kathleen Blanco, says she hopes that state businesses will get the first dibs on rebuilding, and that rebuilding is a massive effort. As the city of New Orleans starts to rebuild, it's also battling fires. It continues to. This one, about 3 miles southwest of the airport, earlier this afternoon, it appears to have been put out, but these fires still flaring up, this one in an apartment complex. And then there is the task of rebuilding structures. Earlier today, we went into the Superdome. This is 2 weeks after more than 20,000 people had been stranded there for days. Still, the cleanup effort continues inside that Superdome. The future of it is still in limbo. And the convention center also. The mayor of New Orleans says that he wants to change that convention center where thousands had been stranded. He says he wants to change it from a symbol of despair into a symbol of rebuilding, and that he hopes to use that center as part of a retailer for when residents start coming back into New Orleans. Now, those residents in designated areas are expected to start coming back into the city over a phased period of time on Monday. But over this weekend, Kitty, there will be business owners who will be allowed in throughout the weekend in certain areas in order to get their businesses back up and running. Kitty?
All right, thanks, Mary. Those pictures of the Superdome look absolutely awful. Thanks a lot. Mary Snow reporting from New Orleans. Well, New Orleans wants its residents to return home, but a new poll finds that many survivors don't want to go back. Now, a survey of hurricane survivors in Houston finds them split between those who do want to return to New Orleans and those who want to settle somewhere else. Of the survivors who plan to relocate, 2/3 say they want to stay permanently in the Houston area. President Bush today declared the federal government must cut spending to pay for the reconstruction work. The rebuilding of New Orleans and other communities could cost more than $200 billion. Dana Bash reports.
Reflection on a national day of prayer. The president used the pulpit to try to bridge a racial divide more vivid behind Katrina's path, saying renewal should address poverty, what he called the legacy of inequality.
And one day, Americans will look back at the response to Hurricane Katrina and say that our country grew not only in prosperity, but in character and justice.
Mr. Bush's pledge to rebuild the Gulf Coast will have a hefty price tag. What will it be? The president later suggested within reason it doesn't matter.
It's going to cost whatever it costs, and we're going to be wise about the money we spend.
Bridges, schools, new job training, child care spending, plus small business tax breaks. Some estimates suggest the president's plan could cost some $200 billion. The president's chief economic advisor, Alan Hubbard, told reporters, quote, "There's no question the recovery will be paid for by the federal taxpayer, and it will add to the deficit." The president insisted he will push to offset the cost elsewhere.
It's going to mean that we're going to have to make sure we cut unnecessary spending.
But neither Mr. Bush nor top aides will offer any specific proposals, raising alarms among some in his own party. Conservatives who suggest, for starters, trimming pork barrel highway spending or even delaying the new Medicare prescription drug benefit.
We can cut a lot out of this federal government, and to simply saddle future generations with this debt is not right.
But in a rare break from an intensely partisan environment, Senate leaders from both parties touring devastated New Orleans echoed Mr. Bush. Spend what it takes,
that shows the
but carefully.
responsiveness. We, again, together, will be making sure that further resources are made available.
We need to spend the money wisely and make sure there's not any waste and certainly any corruption.
But that's where the agreement ends. Democrats want the White House to roll back some tax cuts in order to help pay for Katrina. The president made clear today raising taxes is off the table. Kitty.
Dana, another one. Word tonight that Vice President Cheney needs to have surgery. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we're told by one of his top aides, Steve Schmidt, that he is going to undergo next weekend surgery to remove an aneurysm behind his right knee. We are told that it is something that will just require local anesthesia. He will certainly stay in the hospital for a short while. We don't know exactly how long, but they say they do expect him back to work soon thereafter. We have little detail at this point. Of course, when we hear about the vice president and his health, it does raise some alarms because of his heart history, his bad heart history. But at this point, we don't know if there is any particular connection. But they are being very clear in his office tonight, Kitty, that this is something that, as I said, just requires local anesthesia. They're trying to downplay it.
All right. Thanks very much. Dana Bash reporting. Thanks, Dana. Well, let's turn back to the hurricane crisis. Democratic leaders say President Bush must provide answers, not just comforting words. Democrats say now is not the time for political opportunism. Ed Henry has our report. Ed?
Good evening, Kitty. That's right. Senate Democratic leader Harry Reid and his counterpart in the House, Nancy Pelosi, putting out some tough statements last night, basically saying that they believe the president taking responsibility does not make up for the initial slow response from the federal government. They're also saying they believe the president's plan to rebuild the Gulf region is not ambitious enough. He's also taking some flack from more conservative Democrats, like Democratic Congressman Gene Taylor of Mississippi. He lost his own home in Katrina, and he's saying he was expecting the president last night to talk a little bit more about the government and their efforts to crack down on insurance companies that are trying not to pay out some damages.
One of the things the president didn't talk about is for those people who could not have conceived of this 30-foot wall of water being pushed in by the wind. Their policy, they have a wind policy but not a water policy. And I would think the president could have helped a heck of a lot of people feel a heck of a lot better about their future if he had said that we as a nation are going to somehow try to make you whole again.
Now, lawmakers in both parties are also raising concerns about the rising price tag for taxpayers all around the country for the Katrina relief efforts, as well as the rebuilding in the Gulf region. As you know, Congress has already laid out over $62 billion, some saying the price tag will reach over $200 billion or more when all is said and done. With the president today ruling out tax increases to pay for it, Congressman Taylor, who you heard from a moment ago, is saying he believes that the Bush tax cuts should be rolled back to pay for these relief and rebuilding efforts, whereas some Republican lawmakers like John McCain saying they believe some $25 billion or more should be taken out of the recently passed highway bill. But as you know, there's a lot of pork barrel spending in that highway bill with lawmakers in both parties up for election next year. They're not about to give back some of that money. Incumbents obviously like to tout that back home. Kitty.
Thanks very much, Ed Henry. Thanks, Ed. Well, President Bush has been trying to rebuild his political image after Hurricane Katrina, and polls suggest his approval ratings have been hurt by the federal government's slow response to the disaster. But the numbers show there are other reasons for the president's sliding popularity as well. Senior political analyst Bill Schneider joins me now. Bill, take us through some of those numbers, would you?
Well, it's not just the mishandling of the hurricane, Kitty. In the latest Washington Post ABC News poll, 54% of Americans disapproved of the way President Bush has handled Hurricane Katrina. 58% disapprove of his handling of the economy. 62% disapprove of Iraq. And 72% disapprove of the president's performance on gas prices. The message here, the hurricane is only one of the president's problems, and it's not the biggest problem. A bigger problem, we find, is growing pessimism about the nation's economy, and that is directly tied to increasing gas prices. Most Americans now believe that gas price increase is not temporary but permanent. No more cheap gas.
Bill, the growing economic pessimism in the country, do you think that that's going to create any problems for the hurricane recovery effort?
Well, as we've just heard, the big issue with respect to the recovery is the cost. How is the country going to pay for it? In his speech, the president really didn't call for any shared sacrifice, and today the president said there'd be no tax increases. He's not going to cancel any part of the tax cut. The deficit will go up. Here's what we know. When the economy turns bad, the deficit becomes an issue. Remember 1992? Remember Ross Perot? I don't think the spending on the hurricane recovery is an issue. You just saw the picture of Democrats and Republicans in New Orleans joining forces to support the recovery effort. But the deficit could become a very big political issue, in fact, a political football, if the economy turns sour. That's the key factor in all this. What happens to the economy?
All right, thanks very much, Bill Schneider. Thanks, Bill. Now, we'd like to know what you think about this issue. Do you think that it's important for the White House and Congress not to limit what is spent on rebuilding areas devastated by Hurricane Katrina? That's a yes or no answer. Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll bring the results later in the broadcast. Now, more on the hurricane disaster ahead. Real estate speculators are already moving into New Orleans. Many longtime residents could lose their homes. We'll have a special report on that. And nearly 200,000 people are preparing to return to New Orleans. But is the city's water supply safe? The head of the Environmental Protection Agency will join me.
Lou Dobbs Tonight is brought to you by the Dow Chemical Company. Dow, living improved daily.
Water that's cleaner and safer. Crops that grow stronger and faster. New medicines that save lives. Better protected foods. What's the ingredient that makes all these things possible? The right chemistry. Improving the things we all need is a healthy goal, and it's ours. Dow, living improved daily.
21st century trading is all about vision. Can you clearly see what the market is doing? That's why we created QuoteScope. Now watch level 2 data like never before. Spot current trends and trade with one click for just $10.99 per internet equity or options trade with 75-cent options contract fees. It's the 21st century. Trade like it. Join Ameritrade today and get up to 35 commission-free internet equity trades plus $100 cash back.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
Only Pure has a 3-stage filter for clean, refreshing water. Stage 1 filters sediment. Stage 2 reduces contaminants like lead, pesticides, cysts, and chlorine taste. And Stage 3 filters over minerals. So the only thing you'll notice is the great taste. Pure is available in faucet mounts and pitchers for under $50. Also look for Pure inside select Delta faucets and Whirlpool refrigerators. Pure water filters. Your water should be pure.
There's a new warning tonight about another possible scam in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. Real estate agents are reporting a huge surge in customers looking to buy land on the cheap and take advantage of displaced residents. Lisa Sylvester reports.
At first glance, it's hard to imagine why this would be a buyer's paradise, but it is. Within hours after Katrina hit, investors started looking for properties to buy on Craigslist, an online classified ad site. Buyers are looking to scoop up land and homes at bargain basement prices from residents who have had enough. Lucy D'Angelo, a New Orleans realtor, says investors have been calling and emailing looking for opportunities.
They're wanting to build
high-rises or apartment complexes or condos. And they believe that they would have the land now because we will have to tear down houses in order to rebuild as long as they can be zoned in that way.
Even before Katrina hit, 53% of the city was renter-occupied, 47% owner-occupied. The federal government is making it even more appealing for investors to move in, with talk of spending $200 billion to rebuild. But critics are speaking out. On Craigslist, warnings like this one. Greedy, nasty people will be trying to snatch up your land. Experts say poor and middle-class families are vulnerable because they need quick cash, or may not have had flood insurance, or simply don't know how much their property is worth.
Somebody comes along and says, you know that home, that worthless home you've got in New Orleans? Well, I'll give you $2,000 here, sign this quitclaim deed. It's the same kind of thing that happens after a car accident when the insurance adjuster comes and says, I'll settle the claim for $500. And a lot of people are going to take that.
Families still reeling from the shock of Hurricane Katrina should be cautious not to sell their homes for pennies on the dollar.
And the speculation is only fueling the seller's market for homes untouched by Katrina. Those owners have seen a considerable increase in their property values in just the last 2 weeks. Kitty?
Very interesting story. Thanks very much, Lisa Sylvester. Thanks, Lisa. Now, more than 2,000 children still missing in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is working to reunite them with their families. And so far, the cases of 760 missing children have been solved. Now, this weekend, CNN will work in partnership with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to help with these children reunite their families. CNN will run photos of the missing and displaced children continuously for 40 hours. That's over tomorrow and Sunday, and that will be very helpful, we're sure. Tonight, a tropical storm warning is out for coastal Rhode Island and Massachusetts as Tropical Storm Ophelia heads north. Now, Ophelia was downgraded from a hurricane to a tropical storm. It's picking up speed as it moves along the East Coast. It's not expected to regain hurricane status. The storm caused substantial damage along the North Carolina coast, where it lingered for 2 days. Some parts of North Carolina had more than 17 inches of rain. Homes were destroyed, and North Carolina beaches suffered major damage. Now, on its current course, Ophelia is expected to sweep past coastal New England tomorrow morning and then head north to Canada. Coming up next, no cash, no credit, people tapped out, credit machines still out of power. So that has given way to a unique bartering system in New Orleans, how businesses are using the honor system next. And then state of emergency. It's been days since there were dire warnings about the safety of New Orleans, and now thousands of evacuees are told they can return home. We'll talk to the head of the Environmental Protection Agency about whether New Orleans is really livable once again. Stay with us.
CNN Primetime tonight. All this weekend, CNN is helping families find their lost children. Tonight at 7, one family we helped reunite and the generosity of others that brought them new hope. CNN tonight, 7 Eastern.
Right now at Joseph A. Bank, thousands of handcrafted suits and Business Express suit separates, just $199. The entire stock of signature dress pants, regularly $175, now $79. Plus, special savings throughout the store, like every wool silk corduroy jacket and all micro suede blazers, only $149. Only at Joseph A. Bank, now through Sunday.
The Oracle Grid, a group of low-cost servers connected by Oracle software. Now, if a server fails, the grid just keeps running. The Oracle Grid runs faster, costs less, and never breaks.
This is Paul. He's been a quarryman, beetle, wing, poet, father, frontman, producer, business mogul, painter, and if that weren't enough, a knight. The key is never stop doing what you love. Call us today. We'll help you plan for the next part of your life. Fidelity Investments. Smart move.
Before FEMA, before the military, they acted. Now their amazing stories must be told. CNN presents Heroes Among Us. CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
Mattress World's made a special purchase.
Right now, get a Sealy Firm Plush or Pillow Top Queen Set for just $3.99.
That's right, a Sealy Firm Plush or Pillow Top Queen Set for just $3.99.
Also get no interest, no payments for 1 full year.
Quantities are limited. When they're gone, they're gone. We can't beat any price on any comparable mattress, and the mattress is free.
It's not too late to sleep like a baby. Mattress World.
Mattress World, 185th and Cornell, next to Burger King.
Shopping for a new home? Did you know that in the time it takes you to drive to just one house, you could visit 100 without leaving your home? Coldwell Banker Barbara Sue Properties introduces a better way to shop. Find your new home on TV or online, anytime. Hundreds and hundreds of dream homes are now just a click away. On Channel 15 or at cbseal.com. Coldwell Banker Barbara Sue Properties. Discover the joy of home shopping from home.
A promise of action. A global summit with President Clinton. CNN tomorrow night, 8 Eastern.
Beginning Monday, thousands of New Orleans residents will be allowed to return to the city and find out what has become of their homes. Now, they'll find out not only a changed landscape, but a whole new way of doing business in a town where cash is anything but king. Dan Lothian reports.
In New Orleans, it's anything but business as usual. At St. Claude Used Tires, Ernest Weems and his crew keep the wheels of emergency and police vehicles rolling, fixing flats caused by tons of debris on the road. But few people are paying the listed prices up front.
Some of them do and some of them don't. You know, some of them they put it on a book. You know.
With cash hard to come by, it's a makeshift credit system. Names, badge numbers, or other identifying information are written down.
All right, they got it.
They trust the money for repairs will come in the mail later.
Whatever I can do to help out, man, you know. I'll get my reward a little later, you know.
Others are turning to a barter system. This downtown hotel has given more than 70 rooms to the local phone company in exchange for special services.
I have some people that are...
Attorney and businessman Robert Finney was able to get his hands on extra diesel fuel.
This is the lifeblood right here.
But now needs propane to help a facility for displaced families.
I'm trying to swap diesel fuel for propane because it's all in short supply down here. The bartering is just people trying to get by.
A slightly different system is brewing at Johnny White's, a French Quarter tavern that has stayed open throughout the city's crisis. When the bottles get low, the owner taps into his other 2 bars, which are closed. As a last resort, he goes to competitors who evacuated.
People that have access to bars here have been selling us stuff when we run out over there.
Ride Hamilton sometimes makes deliveries.
We're allowed to go into some of the bars. We leave a note saying what we took and then pay for it when these bars open up again.
If necessity is the mother of invention, Hurricane Katrina has forced some in this city to reinvent the way they do business. Dan Lothian, CNN, New Orleans.
Well, coming up, we'll have the very latest status alert on the Gulf Coast crisis. Also, why some officials say it's safe for certain New Orleans residents to return home. That's despite the past warnings of toxic waters. I'll talk to the head of the Environmental Protection Agency about that. And I'll also talk with the mayor of one Gulf Coast town desperately trying to rebuild with the help of the president's disaster initiative. Stay with us.
Sharp multifunction products transform the office by adding enhanced color to your documents. Then Sharp technology doubled your productivity by scanning 2-sided documents in a single pass. Now Sharp's Data Security Kit is transforming the office again by preventing unauthorized access to information while keeping sensitive digital documents from falling into the wrong hands. The Sharp Digital Imager Series, all the productivity you want, all the document security you need.
Who would ever think that the waste we generate could generate enough green energy to power an entire community? Who would think that neighborhood playing fields could share common ground with a working landfill? We would. We're Waste Management, and we're partnering with communities to create places we can all be proud to call home. From everyday collection to environmental protection, think green, think Waste Management.
Introducing E-Trade Complete. Control your financial world from one page and be free of ATM fees at any machine, any bank nationwide. In other words, be master of your domain. E-Trade Financial. Be extraordinary.
If you're a homeowner with an adjustable rate mortgage, what happens to your monthly payment if the rates go up again? Well, if you have a $200,000 mortgage at 6% APR, a 1% increase in the APR will actually increase your monthly payments by 11%. That equals an extra monthly payment every year. Want peace of mind? Lock in a new low fixed rate loan from Ditech.com while rates are still near their 2-year lows. Log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Local, state, and federal officials are working hard to clean up and rebuild New Orleans and the other areas devastated by Hurricane Katrina. Officials now say that the death toll from the storm has topped 800. Deborah Fayrick joins us now with the very latest status alert on that. Deborah?
Well, Kitty, status alert on gun shops. Some were leveled, some were looted, some are still standing. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms wants to know what's what. So starting tomorrow, agents are going to go to every gun shop in the affected region. ATF has received reports that in some places destroyed by Katrina, soldiers are actually finding guns scattered in the rubble or turning up on street corners. Agents have been working in New Orleans. Acting on a tip, they found 20 firearms wrapped in plastic and hidden in a dumpster in a graveyard. Only dealers keep records, so trying to help them trace what they have and what they've lost is expected to be a huge undertaking. Status alert, oil spill, 6 big ones in the Louisiana area. So far, teams have scooped up 50,000 barrels of oil. That's about 1/3 of what leaked from tanks and pipelines. A lot evaporated or was blown away by high winds. Birds covered in oil are being taken to Houma, Louisiana, so they can be cleaned up. It's not clear whether people will be able to live in the homes affected by the spill. That tops status alerts for today. Anyone with information about a city or parish in the region can email us here at statusalert@cnn.com. Kitty.
Thanks very much, Deborah. Thanks. New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin has given the okay for thousands of evacuees to begin returning to their homes. But with the toxic water flooding much of the city for almost 3 weeks, is it really safe for anyone to move back to New Orleans? Well, for that answer, we are joined by the one man who should know, the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Stephen Johnson, and he joins us from Phoenix. Thanks for being with us, sir.
Thank you, Kitty.
What sort of hazards do they face, and do you think it's safe?
Well, let me take a step back. This is the largest natural disaster that our nation has ever faced, and obviously our hearts and prayers go out to everybody. I came down to Arizona today to visit with evacuees, and one of the things that I was struck by is that here we are, and I am in Arizona meeting with evacuees. Just really gives a sense of the magnitude of the impact of the storm, and also really the compassion of the country of reaching out and helping them.
We really need to turn to your expertise, sir, and find out what sort of hazards they face. We hear of 44 oil spills for the major, the traces of lead, arsenic, E. coli. Where are we here on this?
We've been doing extensive investigation. We have been getting preliminary results. Our first results last week were on the floodwaters. And what we found in the floodwaters were very high levels of E. coli and coliform bacteria and lead, as well as other chemicals. Hence, the floodwater is contaminated and it's unsafe. Today I was briefed on our preliminary results on the sediment. It too is highly contaminated. It's contaminated with petroleum products and a variety of other chemicals. And so we issued, along with the Centers for Disease Control, a public health advisory to make sure that people avoid contact with this sediment as well.
Nevertheless, this sediment can dry out, turn to dust, and blow around. Is that safe?
Well, that's one of the areas we're also concerned about, and we've been doing a lot of air monitoring, and we'll continue to do air monitoring as we are with floodwater sampling and sediment sampling. At this point in time, based upon our preliminary results, we haven't seen any air contamination, but it's an area that we're continuing to monitor because we have concerns, just as you mentioned.
Obviously, you're working against two forces. One is people really do want to get back to their homes, but the other is you really must watch out for their safety. Are you convinced that it's okay to go back in? I guess I go back to my primary question.
Well, the decision of whether to reoccupy a city, in this case New Orleans, is really a multiple issue decision, and the decision is generally done by the mayor or by the local and state officials. The kinds of issues that the mayor and we all face, but particularly the mayor faces, includes issues such as power. Is there electricity? Are the drinking water systems working? They're working, but the water you can't drink. Are the wastewater systems working? The two wastewater systems there are not operating. So there's just a multiple number of factors that go into that decision. We at EPA are on the scene to provide advice and information so that the mayor and the state officials can make an informed decision.
And were you involved in that decision to allow people back in?
We've been providing information just as soon as we get it. Just as soon as we found the floodwater information, we issued an advisory, a precautionary advisory. Today, again, for the contaminant information, again, issuing a precautionary advisory. There are just a number of issues that we're trying to assess, and we're on the scene. We're assessing those, not only in New Orleans and Louisiana, but also in Mississippi and as well as Alabama.
All right. Thanks very much for joining us tonight, Stephen
My pleasure.
Johnson.
Thank you,
sir. Well, on the storm-damaged Mississippi Gulf Coast tonight, residents are becoming increasingly worried about their chances to rebuild. Now, despite the president's sweeping economic initiatives last night, red tape could destroy the efforts to bounce back. And Alan Chernoff reports from Biloxi, Mississippi.
The president last night said the streets of Biloxi and Gulfport once again will be lined with lovely homes. But for the people who lost their homes, lost everything, they're wondering exactly how is that going to happen now, especially after their insurance agents have been saying that the damage here may not be covered because they're saying it was caused by a flood, not a hurricane, and many of these people did not specifically have flood insurance. They may be looking to the federal government for a bailout, and the president did not offer that promise last night. On the economic front, though, the president did talk about an incentive zone in this area to help businesses and up to $5,000 per person to help find a job. So the president certainly did provide hope to this community that is still facing many questions about the future. Alan Chernoff, CNN, Biloxi, Mississippi.
Today, Gulfport Mayor Brent Warr met with Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff, and Mayor Warr joins me tonight from Gulfport, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us tonight. We know you have your hands full. How did that meeting go? Are you getting the kind of support you need to reconstruct?
Yes, Kitty, we are. He was very forthcoming with information. He definitely told us that everything that is necessary they will provide. I believe that they are willing to put their shoulder behind the wheel for us and really help us push this task. I have a lot of confidence, to be honest with you, in what the federal government is committed to us, and I think that if they work with us, I think that we'll be okay.
You were really in the eye of the storm. You had hours of pounding by winds and rain, and yet we're seeing this report that insurers are reluctant to reimburse people if they didn't have flood insurance. How are you reacting to that, and did you bring that up in your meeting today?
Well, I did. Of everything that's had to do with the aftermath of the storm, I have to be honest with you, myself personally, I'm most frustrated by the lack of concern, it seems like, from the insurance industry. We've not heard enough about what their intentions are from them. We've had to go to the government to ask them, what do they think the insurance industry is going to do. Clearly, this was a wind event, 175-mile-an-hour sustained winds. I personally sat in my home and dealt with them for 6 to 7 hours, and we had less than 10 inches of rain. That does not make a flood. This was not a flood event. This was a wind event.
More than 68,000 Mississippi residents have lost their homes. The president has proposed a Gulf Opportunity Zone. Do you think you may benefit largely from that?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely we will, Kitty. We just need a little bit of a push to get business back going here. We did have several people who I've heard of personally who said, I'm leaving and never coming back. I believe they'll change their mind if they have an opportunity to prosper here. We've got to get the jobs back. This year will probably be okay. Next year is when we're really going to take a hit from our property tax revenues. We're very concerned about that. None of the cities on the Gulf Coast have the financial wherewithal to withstand a major hit like this.
Mayor Warr, if you had one wish to jumpstart your region, what would you wish for?
Oh my goodness, I tell you, I would wish that the insurance industry would do the right thing, pay people's homes who are damaged and destroyed by wind, and give us the opportunity to rebuild in the places that we love. If they don't, these people are going to take nothing and live in makeshift structures for a long amount of time because they love this area and they're not going to leave permanently.
Mayor Ward, we wish you every success. Thank you, sir, for joining us
thank
tonight.
you, ma'am. Yeah, thank you, and God bless you.
Amid the death and destruction surrounding Hurricane Katrina, we have an inspiring story tonight of pride and patriotism. Now, Johnny and Joe Russin of Waveland, Mississippi, made a surprising discovery in what was once the backyard of their beautiful shorefront home. And there they found an American flag wrapped tightly around a tree. This wasn't just any American flag. They say it once flew over the Waveland Veterans Memorial. Now, as retired Army colonels, the Russins felt a sense of duty and honor in rescuing that symbol of America.
I spent 26 years with the Army Infantry, and my wife spent 24 years with the Adjutant General Corps of the Army. So flags are important to us.
You know how to take care of them.
Yeah, we know how to take care of them, and we respect them. Because I think about my friends who didn't come back when I see this thing fly. And it's important to me. And this is
the
not
memorial where the flag once flew is located half a mile from the Russins' home. It's an amazing story. Still ahead, he made it once look easy. Chief Justice nominee John Roberts, big week on Capitol Hill. Our Newsmaker panelists are next, and we'll talk about it. Also, heroes, our salute to the men and women in uniform. And tonight, the story of an Army Sergeant Edward Kostelnik. He puts his life on the line every day to save the lives of his fellow soldiers.
There's never been a better time to talk with your doctor about Ambien, because now you can try Ambien free. Visit Ambien.com for details.
Get more out of now with Dell. This Dimension desktop with an Intel Pentium 4 processor is only $499. Plus, get a free flat panel upgrade. Notebooks start at $549 after mail-in rebate. And get $250 off Dell Entertainment Systems, like Dimension 5100 desktops with Intel Pentium 4 processors and Inspiron 6000 notebooks with Intel Pentium M processors. Dell PCs use Intel Pentium 4 processors.
Introducing Fair and Flexible from the new Sprint. With no huge overages and no roaming charges, you control your plan, not your wireless company. Use your phone how you want with Fair and Flexible. Call 800-SPRINT-1. Plans start at $34.99 a month. Call 800-SPRINT-1 today. Sprint. Yes, you can.
What do you get when a financial firm with 66,000 people in 50 countries takes the time to understand your needs like it's just the two of you? Could it be the most powerful two-person financial firm in the world? You and us. UBS.
Newsmakers is brought to you by UBS, a global financial firm with the heart and soul of a two-person organization. You and us.
Tonight in Newsmakers, three of the country's best political journalists join me with their insight. Now, from Washington, we have Karen Tumulty of Time Magazine, Roger Simon, U.S. News and World Report, and here in New York, Ron Brownstein of the Los Angeles Times. Thanks for being with us. Let's start remote. So let's start with Karen. Speech last night, your reaction, did he strike the right chord, do you think, Karen?
Well, you know, as speechcraft goes, it didn't have a lot of the big rhetorical flourishes that we're used to from George Bush at moments like this. But there was a lot in that speech, and it was a fairly frank, I think, assessment of how the government broke down. And it was a fairly detailed, at least in terms of goals, plan for dealing with it, and for also dealing with some of the underlying social ills that have really become so obvious and visible to all of us in the last couple of weeks. The real question here is, how is he going to accomplish this, and particularly how is he going to get it past his own base?
Roger, things that needed to be brought to the open, things that needed to be talked about and discussed, do you think it had enough specificity in it?
Yes, except for one important matter. This is the third great crisis of Bush's presidency, first 9/11, then the Iraq occupation, and now Hurricane Katrina. And in each instance, he has failed to ask the American people or Congress for any kind of sacrifice. I mean, today in his speech, he said we have to eliminate unnecessary spending. Unnecessary spending in Washington is like unnecessary sex. There's no such thing. He had no program for cutting spending to pay this huge bill for Katrina.
All right, Rob?
Well, in terms of spending, we're already running $300 billion a year plus deficits. And, you know, this is a reminder, I think, Katrina, of why, as a routine policy, the government might not want to be running $300 billion a year deficits, because there might be literally a rainy day. I mean, overall, I thought it was a pretty effective speech. It was expansive in its commitment and its generosity, but it was also focused in trying to find responses to the problem that generally fit with his view of what the federal government should and shouldn't be doing. Two political problems, though, as Roger and Karen said. One, looking forward, how to pay for it. And in terms of the politics of this, the other one is looking back. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And many Americans develop their view of his response to this crisis in those immediate first days. All he can do now is try to, like a pitcher who gives up a grand slam in the first inning, try to make it better the rest of the way.
Do you think it was too late?
I don't think it's too late, in the sense that, you know, that the American people's judgment of him will be ongoing, and if, in fact, I think people will be impressed that he put together something fairly comprehensive. But I think it is too late to completely undo the damage that was done. That was a moment that's kind of seared in time that may have changed the perception of him as a leader and someone who can handle a crisis. I'm not sure he can ever entirely recover from that.
You know, the reaction to the crisis was fairly politicized, and yet we saw Senate leaders on the site today, and there was a remarkable lack of politicization of the issue. What do you think about that, Karen? Do you think everybody will join forces going forward here for the recovery?
Oh, probably not. But I do think that anyone who has a political instinct in their body understands right now that the country is really, really rooting for these hurricane victims, and the country is looking for real solutions. And this is one of the, I think it was former Secretary of Defense William Cohen who says, you know, government's the enemy until you need a friend. I think this is a moment when people in America are really looking for government to do its job.
And perhaps no tolerance for the sort of infighting that comes with this sort of turf. Let's move on to another big subject in the week, and that's Judge John Roberts' confirmation. Key Democrats are saying they haven't really made up their minds. Where do you think we stand on this? Let's go to you, Roger.
John Roberts could put up on a ski mask and stick up a 7-Eleven, and he'd still get 65 votes in the U.S. Senate. This is a fight that Democrats don't want. John Roberts was the perfect nominee. A day after he finished speaking, you couldn't remember a thing he said, except the movies he liked. This is the one great victory, I think, or victory anyway, that the Bush administration has had in the last couple of months. They've picked a sort of moderate conservative that Democrats really don't want to expend a lot of capital fighting.
Okay, let's get you, Karen.
Well, I think the person, whether this is a 65-vote confirmation or an 80-vote confirmation, there are a few Democrats here to watch. And I think that Dianne Feinstein, who yesterday expressed her own mixed feelings about this whole process and how, you know, if anything, her uncertainty has deepened as a result of these confirmation hearings, is somebody to watch, because depending on how she votes as the only woman on that committee, I think you'll see a lot of other Democrats taking their cue from her.
You know, two things really jumped out at me from this week. One was a reminder of the inherent vitality of presidential power. I mean, you talked about with Bill Schneider before. President Bush is looking at the lowest approval ratings of his presidency, the higher disapproval rating than Bill Clinton or Ronald Reagan ever reached, who are controversial in their own right. And yet here he is about to place on the Supreme Court a Chief Justice who will affect American life for a quarter century or more. It's just a reminder of how much power there is in the presidency. On the other hand, it's also a reminder of what exactly is the point of these confirmation hearings at this point. I mean, you really wonder after 3 or 4 days of this, do we know much more? We know a little more. We have some kind of Delphic signals from Judge Roberts, but in the end, it's not really sure how much this is serving the public the way these are running out in current usage.
Yeah, I'm sure many people were struck with this. Anyway, Roger Simon, Karen Tumulty, Ron Brownstein, thank you so much for being with us. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you.
And tonight, a Fortune 500 company has become so alarmed at the poor science and math skills of U.S. workers that it's offering to help teach those skills to U.S. students. Now, IBM says the U.S. educational system is in urgent need of reform. Christine Romans has that report.
IBM wants its veteran employees to consider becoming math and science teachers.
Okay.
IBM will pay for it and provide mentoring in the classroom.
We are all benefited and strengthened if our schools are more effective, and math and science are critically important. Changes in the workplace require higher levels of skill. American business and others are going to have to step up to the plate. This is a creative and innovative way of solving a very critical problem for America.
It's clear that America needs more teachers and better educated science and math students. By 2008, a third of American jobs will need high-tech skills. There'll be another 6 million job openings for scientists, engineers, and technicians. To keep up, that means 260,000 new math and science teachers by the 2008-2009 school year. Those teachers have a lot of work to do. American students rank 28th in the world for math preparedness after China, Finland, and South Korea. In science, 22nd after Finland, Japan, and China. Urban schools have dramatically worse math and science performance, and these schools are the fastest growing in America.
If we don't get corporate America actively engaging in this challenge like IBM is doing, then we're in trouble. We do need more good science teachers, good math teachers. We need to come up with some creative ideas on how to get those people.
One problem, classroom conditions are challenging and better paying jobs lure young teachers to corporate America. Half of all science and technology jobs in this country are filled by foreign graduates. And as Americans lack math and science skills, it could become a defense crisis.
A number of our science and technology employees in the defense industry are going to be retiring, and we don't have enough coming along to fill them. I think it's a huge issue of national security.
It's saturated.
National security, and of course there is that irony in corporate America trying to solve the education problem. Critics say corporate America is outsourcing technology jobs to lower wage markets and actually helping turn America's labor market into a low-skilled, service-based workforce.
Those numbers are shocking. Thanks very much, Christine Romans. Well, still ahead, why our NATO allies are missing in action in Afghanistan. We'll have a special report on that. And heroes, our salute to the men and women in uniform. And tonight, the story of one flight medic in Iraq who is the hero of the battlefield and in the air. Stay with us.
Starting tomorrow, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and CNN will identify children from the Katrina aftermath. Please watch this weekend. You might save a life.
Building a classic machine, stitching the stars and stripes. These are just a few of the jobs held by proud American craftsmen. So join me as I ramble around this great country of ours, talking to the people who put their hearts every day into a little label called Made in America.
John Ratzenberger's Made in America, Tuesdays at 9 on the Travel Channel.
Visit Olinger Travel Homes for a simply unbeatable deal on a new RV. 230th and TV Highway in Hillsboro and in Portland off I-84 exit 16.
What you wish you could do in real life, now you can do at VX.com. Roadmap to the automotive world.
Hope. It's more powerful than a hurricane. Help victims of Hurricane Katrina and thousands of other disasters across the country each year. Call or visit redcross.org today.
Shopping for a new home? Did you know that in the time it takes you to drive to just one house,
you could visit 100 without leaving your home. Coldwell Banker Barbara Sue Seal Properties introduces a better way to shop. Find your new home on TV or online, anytime. Hundreds and hundreds of dream homes are now just a click away. On Channel 15 or at cbseal.com. Coldwell Banker Barbara Sue Seal Properties. Discover the joy of home shopping from home.
Former President Bill Clinton, hurricane relief and his global initiative. Larry King, CNN Tonight.
Insurgents today launched a third consecutive day of coordinated attacks in Iraq. Those attacks killed at least 17 people. More than 200 people have been killed in the past 3 days. A bomb killed 8 people who were leaving a mosque after Friday prayers in northern Iraq. Iraqi police were also a target today. 3 officers were killed in a car bomb attack south of Baghdad. And now heroes, our salute to the men and women in uniform. And tonight the story of Army Sergeant Edward Kostelnik. He's serving in Iraq, and with every radio call, this medic deals with life and death. Alex Quaid has his story. We should warn you, this report does contain graphic images.
When we came on the scene, I thought we could tell that, something had just exploded there.
This car bombing at a water treatment plant near Baghdad haunts Army Sergeant Edward Kostelnik. 41 people died, 34 of them children. 10 U.S. soldiers were hurt. Kostelnik, a former minister known as Father K, was the flight medic who answered their call.
Amputations and some mangled limbs. I was able to get one of the guys onto a litter really quick, get him in the aircraft. I went back to get the other guy and noticed that I was the only one there. So I actually had to scoop him up like he was, just like a little baby, and drag him out of the vehicle and put him on the litter. I took those 2 patients to the hospital. I know that I should be tired. You sprint like 100 meters away from the helicopter to go get a patient. You pick up a patient and you're basically running with him all the way back to the helicopter. You're not even out of breath. You're working on the patient, and it finally hits you after you drop the patient off at the cache.
The cache is the combat support hospital in Baghdad.
While I was in the hospital giving my report to the doctors, they were yelling for me to get back out there. We had a call for some children. And we started to go towards that way, and they canceled it. So, you kind of, when they cancel a mission like that, basically that, they didn't make it. So, kind of hard when you hear that over the radio.
For Kostelnik, or Father K, this was just one call on one day serving in Iraq.
People are people, and they're just hurt. And I know everybody's been hurt at one time, and all they want is help.
Alex Quaid, CNN, Baghdad.
When flight medic Sergeant Edward Kostelnik is finished with his service, he plans to go back to medical school in Arizona to become a doctor. Well, some 18,000 American troops are also stationed in Afghanistan. It's a vitally important mission, but some are calling it the Forgotten War. This weekend, the troops will take part in a huge security operation to protect voters as they participate in parliamentary elections. Ryan Chilcote reports from Afghanistan, and his report begins with pictures of a nighttime U.S. raid shot without lights.
They move on a compound. Acting on intelligence, a Taliban leader just released from a detention facility is plotting attacks. The troops don't find their target, but discover 4 bags of nitrogen, which could be used for a bomb.
The goal of these operations is to make Zabul province safe for Afghanistan's first parliamentary elections in more than 30 years.
Chopin has few roads, and they are frequently mined, so everything for the elections, from ballots to chairs, must be flown in on helicopters. There's no electricity, no phones, and no TVs. Word of mouth is the only way people here learn about the elections. Some told me they're enthusiastic about voting, but getting to know the candidates here isn't easy. I don't know who to vote for, this doctor tells me, because none of the candidates have been here. Afghan police are sent in from elsewhere, and the U.S. Army's 2nd of the 503rd is aggressively trying to root out Taliban ahead of the vote. Since moving into the Taliban's last stronghold 6 months ago, the unit lost 7 men, another 34 Americans wounded. They estimate killing or capturing around 400 Taliban. Still, the Americans expect the Taliban to strike, and strike hard during the elections. Sunday's parliamentary elections will be another test for both sides in the ongoing war for Afghanistan. Brian Chilcote, CNN, Deshopan Valley, Afghanistan.
Now, in Afghanistan, the United States wants its NATO allies to broaden their roles and help American troops in major combat operations. But France, Germany, and Spain all say they will not allow their troops to fight radical Islamist terrorists in Afghanistan. Afghanistan's political successes are built on strength, largely the 18,000-strong U.S. troops.
9 out of 10 coalition troops are from the U.S. The reduction of U.S. troops is only possible with the successful development of the Afghan National Army. Now, that's proceeding way ahead of schedule. They've done a wonderful job. But it's not going to be there in a year's time. It'll take another year and a half before I think it will be possible responsibly to start reducing U.S. commitments, unless someone fills the breach.
Some countries have stepped forward, such as Germany, to train the Afghan police force. But experts say the pace was going too slowly. U.S. forces had to step in to accelerate the program. The financial burden is also on the United States, and $10 billion of the $12.5 billion of U.S. financial contributions goes to military and counterterrorism operations. U.S. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld said this week in Germany he hoped other countries in the NATO alliance would expand their roles and develop more counterterrorism capability in Afghanistan, something many countries are resisting.
They are doing peacekeeping. They are doing some humanitarian assistance. But basically, we're involved in combating an insurgency, in guerrilla warfare. And our European allies have less experience at that than we do. Their forces and their rules of engagement are less flexible than ours, and there's just a limited amount that they can contribute.
Secretary Rumsfeld said that American troops would continue to do the counterinsurgency operations for a time, but other NATO countries should consider sending troops to Afghanistan's eastern border, where much of the fighting goes on. Well, now the results of tonight's poll. 36% of you think it is important for the White House and Congress not to limit what is spent on rebuilding areas devastated by Hurricane Katrina, and 64% think it is not. Still ahead, a look at one band's dedication to the great city of New Orleans and their hope to return one day. We'll have that story next.
Schwab Street Smart Pro. We're talking a stock screener with 140 criteria to help hone your search, a sector tool that shows which industries are moving, and conditional alerts that trigger automatically, all in one advanced trading platform. All for just $9.95 a trade. Schwab Street Smart Pro. Test drive it now at schwab.com/pro.
The Oracle Grid, a group of low-cost servers connected by Oracle software. Now, if a server fails, the grid just keeps running. The Oracle Grid runs faster, costs less, and never breaks.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
Right now at Joseph A. Bank, thousands of handcrafted suits and Business Express suit separates, just $199. The entire stock of signature dress pants, regularly $175, now $79. Plus, special savings throughout the store, like every wool silk corduroy jacket and all micro suede blazers, only $149. Only at Joseph A. Bank, now through Sunday.
She's called her deepness because no woman has spent more time underwater studying marine ecosystems.
There's a symphony of life down there, but there are energy resources too, and Kerr-McGee leads the way.
With new Spar technology that can float in, recover resources, then sail away. Energy our country needs.
With care our oceans deserve.
Nobody rules and respects the deep water like the explorers of Kerr-McGee.
Closed captioning provided by Head On, the new headache treatment applied directly to the forehead.
Head On, introducing a new headache treatment applied directly to the forehead. How fast do you want relief from your headaches and migraines? Head On. It's safe and it really works. In stores now.
Finally tonight, New Orleans is famous around the world for its culture, its food, its music, of course its jazz. But for the moment, the city is quiet and musicians who make their living playing in the bars and restaurants of the French Quarter have been displaced. But one band is determined to go back.
We were supposed to go home in 3 days, and there's no home to go to.
The musicians are all dislocated. We're all spread out around the country. You know, it's one thing to be on the road, but this is no tour.
Because New Orleans is geographically so small, everybody has to live close to each other.
You have all these people playing music, you're bound to run into somebody that plays something different than you.
So you absorb other people's cultures, and it just becomes just a whole different thing in itself.
Right now, nobody can record a record in New Orleans, and all that material is sort of like on hold.
The impact is huge, it's huge, and I hope and pray that musicians can survive.
What's it going to sound like in next year? What are the records going to sound like? Are they going to have more passion? It's a real scary thing. We're so used to having that place not change at all. We might need a lot of corporate money to come in and help build a city, you know, just to get us back on our feet. Is that going to affect the soul of New Orleans? But there's something special about playing in New Orleans that you can't get anywhere else. It's an honor to be a horn player in New Orleans.
Yes, it is.
It goes back to Louis Armstrong and the days of when that music was being played. We have such a lineage down there to live up to. They're going to rebuild that city, and it's going to be better than it ever was. And the people are going to come back, and I'm going to be there.
We wish them luck. Finally, New York Times reporter Judith Miller has now spent 72 days in prison for protecting her confidential sources in the White House CIA leak case. Thanks for being with us tonight. Have a great weekend for all of us here. Good night from New York. Anderson Cooper 360 starts right now. And we're joined by Anderson. Anderson?
Kitty, thanks very much. We are live in New Orleans. A Louisiana sheriff accuses a city official of racism, saying he's not helping Katrina victims in need. It's 7 p.m. on the East Coast, 4 p.m. the West, and of course 6 p.m. right here in New Orleans. 360 starts now.
Eruption in Louisiana. A city manager gets into a brawl with the chief of police over the response to Hurricane Katrina.
Where's the housing for these people?
And it was all caught on tape. We'll tell you what caused this outrage. How race may have played a part. A Mississippi town blasted by Hurricane Katrina. More than half its population gone. So when relief finally arrived in so many places, how is this one left out?